Hello, and finally, welcome to TNA Top 10 for December 2nd, 2024. Funny thing, you got to hit that go live button at some point before you start talking. Went on a whole monologue before you guys got here. My
We're
name's T
late and it's
Weave.
not my fault. That's what he's trying to tell you.
It is my fault. My name's T
Ew.
Weave. With me, as always, is Allison Faye.
Hi guys.
She waves. And Andrew. How you doing, Andrew?
What up, guys?
Birthday boy. It's the birthday boy.
That's the
Yeah.
rumor. 39
not
today. I never remember how old I am. I have to do the math. But it is 39. The last
How do you
birth-
do that? You're past your fingers and toes now. Almost
the
passed it twice.
But I'm really good at math. I don't need fingers and toes because this isn't Huntsville, Alabama, sir. This is Eastern North Carolina.
Yeah,
Oh.
nobody in Huntsville's good at math, right? Okay.
Bunch of engineers anyway. And military folks. No, I'm good. I had a great Thanksgiving. I hope y'all did too. And rolls right on into the birthday, which I don't, celebrate traditionally. It was Monday. Somebody asked me, "What are you doing for your birthday?" I said, "Work." I'll be at work. Thank you, Bober. I'll be at work because that's what I do on Monday.
I took your birthday off, just so you know.
Yeah,
That's
well,
how much I
somebody
love
had to.
That's how much I love you. I just want you to know that I took today off.
I got so much criticism about this, and I did not realize that other people make much bigger deal of my birthday than I make of it. I've
Have
got
you
a
met your
wonderful,
friends?
I
I've got a
went all the way to
wonderful
Atlanta last year.
group of friends. Yeah, irrecognizable. That's another story. Kind of like the Macho Man socks. We don't talk about it here.
Burned those.
Did you finally? Good job,
I
Terry.
don't wear them if I want anything good to happen. I don't wear my Macho Man socks.
Don't wear them on Raise Day, clearly. We're going to talk about Terry's evaluation here. Oh, shit. Let me run to the bathroom and take these socks off because I can't be wearing them.
I'm giving you a negative 2.5% raise this year.
They're cursed. Especially if alcohol is involved. And someday we might tell that story, but probably not.
Oh boy.
Thanksgiving,
need.
how was it? Did you guys fight over food? Did you eat any eggs, Allison? The answer is
Oh
no.
God, no. There were no eggs to be seen at my Thanksgiving. Thank you very much. My sister-in-law loves me a lot. We did have box dressing, but it wasn't stovetop. It was Trader Joe's. It was still delicious. Shut up.
Did you see
dressing.
mine? Did you see
Yes,
my
yours
dress?
looked really good.
It was.
Yours looked
You're
really good.
welcome. You're welcome.
I
I
took
would try.
pictures to send you guys of my deviled egg casserole. And I think I never even sent the pictures.
I never did see it, but like I told you, that's a dad hack. That's so you don't have to put the mixture back in the egg. That's what that was.
Oh,
right
is that
there.
what you do?
Exactly what it
A lot
was.
easier.
Terry,
You just chop up the egg whites instead of trying to
That's
form
like.
them.
Oh, that's smart.
that was really smart. Like as much as you want to tease us about deviled eggs, Allison, that right there,
No, that's
highly intelligent. Great
I'm a
move
big
on
fan.
Terry's
I
part.
sauteed. I say saute. I don't know. I melted some butter, a stick of butter, maybe a little too much, but too
There's
much
never too
butter.
much.
What is that?
There's
So I put a stick of butter, and I got a bag of croutons, and I crushed those up. Put it in the
Nice.
butter. And I got a bunch of bacon pieces and threw that in there, and that
Look
was
at
my
you,
top.
fancy schmancy.
So my fancy schmancy, other than I cook everything from scratch, was the macaroni and cheese was the star of the show.
Oh,
Philadelphia cream cheese, half and half, triple melt Kraft shredded cheese, a stick of butter, and I just mixed it all up. Put it over some noodles, baked it, and then took the Ritz crackers and put them over top.
Okay.
Yeah.
What I made for Thanksgiving, which you guys saw, I brought a bottle of wine and I had it safely in my cup holder the entire drive. So it made it to Long Island. And then my sister-in-law, like I said, is the best. She said, "What do you want to bring to Thanksgiving?" And I'm like, "Reservations." So I just gave her money and she went and bought the desserts. So we had a couple of pies. So
Andrew, was it
Um,
you that sent me that reel that you have a big
Oh.
Thanksgiving feast and everybody gets something, like one person will get Taco Bell,
Yeah.
somebody else will get Chick-fil-A.
that looked
The
freaking
pre
amazing.
Thanksgiving feast or whatever it is. Yeah, absolutely.
Ooh. Heather
Dang.
Whitley says
Beef
we were
Wellington.
oddballs and did beef Wellington and salmon Wellington.
Ma'am,
Yeah.
save me a plate. I'll be there. I can
Jeez.
drive to Virginia, Heather. Thank you for being here tonight. I
That
mean, I can
sounds
drive there.
amazing.
Yes, ma'am. That
I
sounds
would-
awesome.
Yeah.
I am a beef Wellington fan. I think it's
Same.
because of Gordon Ramsay. Blame him. Particularly when he gets so shitty with people who don't cook it correctly.
Oh, I've
But-
got a good story that involves Wellington. I think it was chicken Wellington, but
Oh.
at one point I worked for BP and
Mhm.
I was in college and they flew us all out to Houston and the CFO spoke in front of everybody. And this,
Oh.
I'm old, so this was decades ago. Well, there was this young stud guy from the area stood up and he was asking why BP doesn't do some of the stuff that this brand new oil company from Houston does because they're making BP look bad. Karma's a thing because he was talking about Enron.
Oh, there you go.
And that kind of blew up in their face. So I laughed
Yeah.
when all that was happening because I thought about that guy. But anyway, the reason Wellington came into that is because they gave us chicken Wellington at the dinner.
Chicken Wellington.
Speaking of high-end reels, chicken
Mm.
Wellington. Hold on. Let me back up. Terry, I need to understand chicken Wellington before I get to this point about reels.
I don't know. They must have ground it up and did some whatever forming.
And they put the bread
stuff
pastry
their
over top
stuff
of it?
and- Yeah.
Hmm.
Like I said, it's been
Sounds-
20 something years ago.
I guess you could do it to a breast.
Yeah.
It's
Maybe
like
a
those.
thigh?
It's like those freezer things you get where they put the slice of
Hot pockets.
chicken, not a hot pocket. I'm talking about like they come in like chicken Kiev, chicken cordon bleu. That's good. Cordon bleu, you know, where they put it all like in a little round thing. That's kind of what I'm envisioning in my head. Did they roll the chicken fillet inside? Or
Like I said, it's been 20
You don't
something
remember.
years ago.
Anyway.
The fact that I even remember it was chicken Wellington is a big shocker here.
Also,
I had
please know
four
Heather
dogs.
has invited us all, so
Yeah.
I had 4 dogs, not 14 people. The dogs love ham. They love
Oh.
the mashed potato casserole. Oh my god, that fat thing can't get enough of the mashed potato casserole. But speak high end things that amuse me. I've started to send Allison some of these. What is the name of it? Amari Planes or whatever. The guy that charters the private planes.
yeah, that's
My God.
what. Yeah,
What
I
a
am not
waste.
there yet.
Yeah, what
Okay.
a waste. This guy's average price is like $40,000 to $45,000 a flight. And I'm like, and he just hit 1 million followers on TikTok. So he's very popular. I'm like, who the hell has 40 grand for a damn flight? You know? Not me.
Well, the other day you sent me one where a guy was looking for a last minute, same day return home from like Australia to the US or something, and he paid $220,000.
and the guy didn't bat an eye.
I'm like, I
So
could
he
buy
didn't
a
bat an eye.
house for that. Like, that's just
Yeah,
That's
he didn't.
called you make enough money to have freedom to do.
I mean, it's got to be a rounding error because he didn't even bat an eye, Terry.
Nope.
Almost $250,000. And the guy's like, yeah, I'll pay it. I'm like, what? What? That is insanity
Apparently,
to the
I am
nth
doing
degree.
something wrong with my free JetBlue flight to Las Vegas in a couple weeks, but I'll take it. Free is free.
So, speaking of flights, let's talk about flights because
Okay.
I broke my own rule and got Southwest. Okay. So, I flew Southwest back in 2019, but my dumbass decided to do it from North Carolina to Las Vegas. It's a very long flight on a Southwest airplane, not very comfortable. So I have flown first class American, first class United, flew on Delta to Vegas this past time. The first class flights, they never really said anything about baggage. Now United Airlines as well as American are charging $150 a bag. The ticket price they advertise, it's $185 to fly to Tampa. You get the thing, and then you see that it's $185, and then you have to check a bag, and then blah 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 blah. Before you know it, the ticket. I said, to hell with it. I'm gonna take a page out of my friend Terry's book. We're flying Southwest. It's a 2-hour flight. And by the way, nobody wants to fly direct. So you got to fly from Raleigh to Charlotte or Raleigh to Atlanta and then get to Tampa, Florida, which I hate. So I'll be leaving at 12 o'clock in the afternoon because that's when the flight time was available for a one-way flight. Nonstop, Terry.
Well,
but it's Southwest. Southwest. I did pay
Well,
for the extra so I can check in early and get a seat the while I want.
My deal is, sure, you can have a better plane on American or Delta, but you can also have a worse plane on American or Delta.
Yeah, that's true.
Southwest, you're getting a 737 every damn
Every
time.
time.
Delta lost my business when they decided for weight and balance issues in July of 2024 in Las Vegas, Nevada, that they were going to have to pull people off of airplanes. I will never fly Delta again. If you are that stupid that you don't know that in Las Vegas, Nevada, it's going to be 115 degrees at 2 o'clock in the afternoon in July, don't overbook your fucking plane. That was absolutely unnecessary. And they do
Apparently
it
it's
to
a little hot
themselves.
in Nashville in July also, if we remember.
I do
Yes.
remember. There was
We remember.
the graphic that never was. It's a damn shame. And apparently we have a associate who is a TSA agent. He tells me he works for the Department of Homeland Security. And I just remind him all he is a mall cop that works in an airport. But
Oh my
you know,
God.
well, tell me that's not true. What the hell do
So-
they do? They're not protecting anybody. I get more protection from the dogs walking around sniffing for bombs than you do the TSA agents. But because they all have little dick energy and they've got a badge and a gun and they think they're somebody. Oh, you got to take your shoes off. Why are you taking your shoes off at this point? Why? I wear boat shoes to the airport because I have to take my shoes off and it annoys me. The good news is in Raleigh, if they got the bomb sniffing dogs, they don't make you take your shoes off.
Or if you got global entry, you wouldn't have to take your shoes off.
Apparently, that requires an interview with the government, and they are not my biggest
Oh,
fan.
yeah, he wouldn't get to go. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's right. They'd be like, nope, no fly list. Sorry.
They're
can't have
not
him."
my biggest fan.
I had
but
to
we
hand
are,
my shoes over to somebody one time.
Did you
And they
really?
put it in some kind of contraption. And I was so nervous because the day before that I had grilled and there was like some ashes on the back porch, and I used the same shoes to scoot them off the side. And I'm like thinking in my head,
What do they think I have on my
I
shoes?
scooted ashes off the porch yesterday in those shoes. What are they going to find here?
this is absolutely asinine. Like, these are real first world problems. And before we all move on to wrestling, I want to introduce you to one more first world problem. As everybody knows, you listen to this show, I drive a 22 Supra. I also frequent the gym. So the other day, I have been ignoring the little message on my driver information screen that says remote battery empty. Remote battery empty. Remote battery empty. So it's telling me that my key fob or remote battery is dead, right? I've been ignoring this message for probably 90 days. That's how I roll. So I'm all sweaty. It is 12 degrees or whatever it is. I just got off the elliptical. This is 12 degrees. And I try to go unlock my door. The buttons haven't worked for weeks at this point because the battery's that dead. But you've got this little spot when you touch the handle. If the transmitter is active, it'll unlock the door for you. You don't need to have the key in your hand as long as it's close to you. It won't work. My hands are wet. It's not registering. I thought that I was screwed and going to have to open the door, and all this other stuff. Good news. I got into the car, but I went and I broke open the key fob tonight to see what kind of key I needed. Battery. $5 a piece for a battery. Just a little disc in the car for the car battery. $5 a piece. I bought the 2-pack and allegedly saved money. I don't believe them at Advanced Auto Parts. Whatever. First world problems. I've been riding around Terry, empty remote battery for 90 days. Yeah, I know you would never do that. You would not tolerate that.
No, I've got several batteries in my in my junk drawer in the kitchen,
There it is. Imagine
I
that.
have
and 2 keys.
I have a I have a kid who loves electronics. I got more batteries than I can count.
So I have 2 remotes, but the other remote was dead. Like it wasn't registering at all. So anyway, I have 2 brand new batteries, 2 remotes. That is the
Okay, good.
epitome of first world problems
No.
that we have.
I do have tape around the key fob because that's the only way it's staying together. Now that's a different thing entirely.
That's a whole different thing because we ain't paying
Yeah,
for that.
that's definitely, yeah.
But the thing is about it, Terry's right. He drives the car he drives. They're notoriously bad. GM remotes were horrible in those years for separating and breaking apart because they give you a blade key to go along with the remote.
Is
And
this
it
the
creates
Nissan
an-
Kicks?
No, this is a Chevy Cruze. It creates unnecessary tension points. If you drop them, it'll break them.
Oh,
And that
that's
sort
horrible.
of stuff. Yeah, so it's really not good. Also, speaking of Nissan, before we get into wrestling, this pay-per-view was a fucking Nissan as far as I was concerned. It was not good. It was economy class. It was a spot fest. They were an imitator thinking they're Honda or something because this was some AEW garbage that we saw at Survivor Series Saturday.
So,
Like driving a Nissan Kicks around Huntsville, Alabama.
so I'm going to ask you this question then. Put this one versus Full Gear, which was better because it's Full Gear, hands down for me. Okay, good. Glad to hear
Full
that.
Gear. And everybody knows I am unapologetically a bloodline apologist and absolutely despise most of which AEW does. This was a much better pay-per-view. So I
will
guess
say that I quote watched this one, but it was on one screen while I had football on the other screen. So
right
will
now in the
match
ring,
up
we've
for
got Seth Rollins
Yep.
and CM Punk going toe-to-toe. So
And
you
Seth-
knew they were going to circle back to this because they didn't get to this match last year. This could be Saturday night's main event or the kickoff on Netflix. I don't have the volume up, so I can't tell. But
So, have you guys ever gotten a package where it comes with like that packing paper that when you pull it apart, it's like a waffle weave? You ever seen that kind of packing paper?
waffle weave.
Yeah.
That my
Well,
cousin.
look at Seth Rollins' shirt right now, and that's what the packing paper looks
Oh.
like.
That sounds like something he would wear.
Yeah.
oh, and now we got Sami Zayn and Jay out there separating them.
I have a delay, dude. I did not know that was
Oh,
happening.
I know. He texts stuff
He
to
does
us,
this to me all the time. Killing
and I'm
me.
like, oh, okay. Like I had that a few years ago where Auburn was playing Mississippi State.
Oh
And one
no.
of my Mississippi State friends like texted me something, and I still had guys lining up for the onside kick. Like, damn it!
Oh, I just saw Frank and Justin. Ooh, front row.
Oh, on TV.
Yeah, can't
Nice.
hide me. They're in the corner.
Can't hide money.
Well, let's talk Survivor Series then.
All
What
right,
match
let's
are we
talk.
gonna go for?
Andrew, let's start us off. Which match started? I think it was
The women's
right?
War Games match.
That's
Okay,
right.
so yeah. I
It was
mean,
there. It happened.
spot. Well, to be fair, again, and I know we hate these spots, but I thoroughly thought they pulled off the Io Sky, right? And Tiffany Stratton jumping off of the top, synchronized jumps, and they were
Yeah.
both beautiful, well executed.
And the trash can spot,
But it's a winner, so
Nia with the steel chair, not good.
Mm-mm.
Good on Liv Morgan taking that finish off the top rope,
Yeah.
riptide through the table. We'll talk about another mistake they made later in the show, but I mean,
Yeah, that was a good finish to have those two up on the turnbuckle like that.
it's really clear that they're the two most important women in WWE right now because they
Yeah.
don't have a Becky, they don't have a Charlotte.
Yep.
Obviously, if Rhea's factored into it, that's where your top lane creative is heading. She's been in the War Games. The taking the mask thing off really didn't do anything for me personally. I know she had the war paint on underneath, but I mean, then they didn't really continue telling the story. A couple things I did not like about this match. I don't care that they're women. Steel chair shots like Hulk Hogan delivering in 1995 from Nia Jax, absolutely trash. And then the bat from Liv Morgan, they're holding Rhea wide open, and she gets hit with the bat 17 times and no sells at all. That's why I really did not like that particular element. Now, were there some fantastic spots in this? Yes. But if I want a spot fest, I'll go watch AEW. That's kind of my opinion there. Anyway.
Yeah, there was a lot of misses in this match for me. There was a lot of slow movement. There was a lot of just missed spots. And after a while, I just was kind of tuning it out because I'm like, this is not a good match at all. And I would perk back up when I would hear, oh, they're climbing the cage. All right, now.
Right.
Here's my problem too, and I want Terry to weigh in on this. You guys see what shirt I'm wearing. This is a Four Horsemen shirt.
Mm-hmm.
The
Right.
War Games was designed by Dusty Rhodes as a final battle, so to speak, for the Four Horsemen. They can't run, they can't hide.
Can't escape.
This cage doesn't have a top on it, which
Right.
annoys the hell out of me. But I get why, because then you don't get the synchronized diving,
Yep.
and you don't get the tsunami that broke Bronson Reed's ankle later in the show.
I like
Oh,
the little platform.
he
they
is
have.
I missed
injured.
that.
Oh, he is 100%
Oh,
injured. If I can
no.
find it, I'll send it to you. It is
Please
bad.
don't. I don't want to see it. I'll just take your word for it.
And it might be both ankles, to be perfectly
my
honest
God.
with you. But anyway, there didn't seem to be the level of escalation and violence and intensity that you would expect in a War Games match. And I'm going to say that about both matches. They just seem like matches that happened inside a double ring, double cage.
I mean, they covered up the crack between the two rings. I mean, the Arn Anderson crack, right?
Yeah, they've
So-
done that for years, though, Terry.
I
The
know,
thing
but
is,
I mean,
one of my favorite.
that's
Alright.
needed. We need
Driving
the
him-
ability for somebody to fall down in there.
Correct. Dustin Rhodes plowing his head. But I would give this match, since there's only 5 of them, I'm going to rate them. This one for me gets 3 out of 5 stars based on the athleticism. The storytelling sucked. The moves suck somewhat. But the right person won the match if you're going to have the baby faces win. Because baby faces don't lose War Games matches very often.
Right.
So
I
So
think.
you gave it a higher rating. Go ahead, Terry.
Well, I
3
was
out
going
of
to say,
5.
just in general, I think Survivor Series went away from the Survivor Series matches and went toward this. It's a softer version of the classic War Games, like you're talking about, but probably a better fit than the original Survivor Series matchups were, because those don't work in 2024. So that's how I see it.
Well, yeah.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, like I said, I think that they've kind of got this tent pole here, kind of like you saw with Elimination Chamber. You see it with Money in the Bank. We know that Survivor Series is going to be War Games. I just don't think they did themselves any favors. Here's the other thing I don't think they're doing any favors on. You got this little interaction I can't hear between Sami Zayn and Seth Rollins going on. The opening segment of Raw has been 24 minutes running.
Yeah, there's still no wrestling.
They haven't broken from this segment at all.
Oh, that's right. They haven't.
24 minutes. Is the Authority back in place? I mean, are we doing the Triple H gimmick from 16 or what? But anyway, moving on.
Yeah.
Unless anybody else has any
No, keep
thoughts on the
going.
War
No, we're
Games.
good.
Like I
Let's
said,
keep
3
going.
out of 5.
Okay. I
LA
give it
Knight,
two out of
Shinsuke Nakamura. This was
Okay.
almost a squash match in my opinion. Allison Terry, lead it off.
I did not know what was happening. Full disclosure, I knew that Shinsuke was like back as this weirdo character. Fine, no problem. But like all of a sudden, what? That was my reaction to this match. What? Terry?
Well, I mean, this is like I said, I was watching football, and like you said, if you heard something was happening, you would pay
Right.
attention. I didn't pay attention to hardly any of this match.
Mm-mm.
It was just kind of happening. So to me, it didn't catch my interest. So I didn't watch the whole thing. But, just based on that, it didn't catch my interest the whole time. So I wouldn't rate it very high.
Yeah, I think that's a fair statement. My thing was Shinsuke looking like the Dark Samurai or Kabuki Warrior or Bushido, whatever they're trying to convey from Japanese culture and history, it basically ate LA Knight up. And if you watch LA Knight's body language coming to the ring, you could tell he was going to lose. Here's my thought, though.
Yeah.
And they've done this a couple times. They did it with Damian Priest, and they did it with LA Knight. Their championship runs, once they crowned them, did not deliver and did not live up to the build to them. I think he was a much better presented wrestler prior to beating Logan Paul for the championship at SummerSlam. I think Damian Priest was a much better presented professional wrestler when he didn't have to carry the world title. But yeah, this match for me, I would agree, worst match on the card. I did like what they did with Shinsuke. It's another 3 out of 5 for me, honestly. Just average.
You're way more generous than I am. This is like a 1.5.
No. What about the hair?
Oh, nobody had good hair. almost all night. I think there were like 3 people whose hair I liked. And this is gonna shock even me, but one of them was Bailey. Because even with the weird mullet thing she's got going on, it's clean, it's out of her face, it's well, and she did like the whole shaved side thing. She trimmed it up, she did some etching in there. It looked really good. This match, yeah, Shinsuke, wash your hair. I don't understand. Between him and Roman Reigns, you can't win.
Yeah, I love how you do not like the wet hair look.
Wet hair is good if you're doing like a slick back look, or like there's a reason it's wet. These gentlemen do not have a reason their hair is wet. They just like the way it looks. And they're wrong, but that's okay. All right, well, next was which one? The triple match? The how many people?
I think so. That was
one match. Well,
triple threat match. A multi-man match. Terry's favorite. He gets to lead off. We have Braun Breaker, Sheamus, and Kaiser Ludwig. That's his legal name too. Terry, don't ask questions. He's a
Tiffany's
German
boyfriend,
but not a Nazi. And apparently he's got game. So Terry, did you see this match and what did you think?
I mean, it was on. I mean, and I thought it was decent, but
this was
the triple threat matches don't bother me as much as the 8-man everybody's flying everywhere matches, because at least you have 2-on-1 and you're wondering when the guy's going to turn on one of the guys. You know, you got that kind of stuff, so I can deal with that. You know, and I like all 3 of these guys, so it wasn't too bad. But it's kind of like the other one where nothing great happened. I didn't feel. But it wasn't too bad.
Gotcha.
I agree.
I thought this was the best match of the night.
Wow.
Bar none. Bar none. Great physicality, good spots, the shoulder block on the outside. Thank you, Amy. The shoulder block on the outside. Everybody got a little bit in this match, and everybody got to give a little bit in this match. So even Braun Breaker took some of the shots and that sort of thing. I think he'll be a very, very good Intercontinental Champion. He's not a heel. People are going to cheer for him. He is not a heel. Sheamus is there because Sheamus is doing his best AJ Styles imitation in the heavyweight division. And Ludwig Kaiser is there because he's earned the spot, but you don't necessarily fit him one-on-one with Braun. He's got to have the little issue with Sheamus and blah, blah, blah. To me, though, the pace, the excitement, the delivery, the impact, best match of the night. And again, unapologetically, a Bloodline guy. So there's that. 4 out of 5 stars.
Nothing exciting for me. Which one was next? Was it the
next one was the World Heavyweight title match.
Yeah. Okay.
Which I'm going to take a page out of Terry's book and let you guys take this one. It was there. but so wasn't the Texas and Texas A&M game at the time, and I
Yeah.
really was not paying a lot of attention to it.
These are two big guys. Two big guys
Right.
are not going to flip around a lot, and that's just
But
kind
haven't
of
we
the
seen
style.
this already?
Couple times, yes, ma'am.
I feel like there was literally nothing new in this match.
Well, and the one thing they tried to do, because they have put this whole thing where Gunther maybe lost his mojo, and he got his mojo back. Okay, well, you got your mojo back, and Finn Balor interfered in the match.
Yeah, so that's where I was going with that.
Right.
How do you have your mojo back if you still can't win clean?
Yeah.
Like,
and Gunther's too good of a wrestler to waste with those types of finishes.
There you go. That's where, like, I was okay with this match up until that point, and then I'm like, why is this happening?
Yeah.
I'm like,
we're going to get to why is this happening in AEW, because you're going to give me my 5 minutes, damn it. But anyway.
Well, no, because my thought is now we have to watch this match again. Because Priest is going to come back and be like, well, you didn't win clean. You didn't win clean, all because of Finn. I don't care anymore.
At this point, I don't know if they have anything better to do with Gunther, and that's the sad spot.
Well, no,
because we just saw Sami Zayn, we just saw CM Punk, we just saw Seth Rollins, we just saw Jey Uso, all in the opening segment of the show.
Yeah,
I think we would like to see Damian Priest turn toward Finn Balor at this point.
Right, exactly.
That would be a lot more exciting than continuing this on.
Yes. There's no other reason other than the fact that he took the belt from you, but nobody cares.
Nobody cares.
Nope, nobody cares. We want to see wrestling, and I don't want to see the same wrestling over and over.
Yeah, for me, this was another 2.5 star match. Actually, one of my least favorites on the show, because it didn't even have the good spots in it that the women's War Games did from that standpoint.
No, and then all right. So tell me about what I missed in the men's War Games match, because apparently I missed something.
So obviously you got this tension built in between CM Punk and
hurry up, you have 2 minutes. No, I'm just kidding.
I understand. CM Punk and Roman Reigns. You've got this built-in tension between the two of them. You get the 5-on-5. CM Punk is actually stopped at one point from entering the ring. He goes in 4th, and then Roman is the cleanup hitter at 5th. Everybody hits their spot on Solo. We got double super kick. We got a super kick. We got to go to sleep, and we get the spear. Okay, that's how you bury an imposter heel who's still carrying the Ulafala, by the way. Paul Heyman comes down. He gets them to get on the same page because Punk and Roman aren't getting along. They went a long time after the War Games began in this particular match. The spot, everybody called it, we're going to see it, is the Tsunami by Bronson Reed off the top of the cage. Well, it was on to Roman. Punk pulls Roman out of the way. Bronson Reed destroys that table. I mean, it just exploded everywhere. Yeah. But when you rewatch the landing, and they've got it slowed down on the Twitter, the X gimmick, you can see he's broken both ankles because he didn't go through the table. He actually hit both legs on the mat from that distance, and he crushed his ankle. That's a 350-pound man or more.
Oh, that's
coming off of that distance. So he's going to be out. They'll have to write him out of the story or whatever it is. Like, here comes mommy right now. Rhea Ripley's coming out. Here she comes.
He's killing me.
She ain't
I have a delay.
My bad. Anyway.
But anyway, I thought,
Yes, go ahead.
Before you get to the next thing, I thought there was a good scene. You talk about Punk and Roman Reigns having this thing, staring at each other and all that. And they're having a discussion in the ring. And then they bring in Paul right in the middle of them. And that was a really good camera angle because he's like talking to him. We got to get along. We got to do this or whatever he's saying. And I thought that was a really good camera angle.
Very smartly done. Very smartly done.
Yeah.
And the Bloodline won. And I don't think anybody really expected them to lose. Jacob Fatu is a star. That's very apparent. The Tongas, unfortunately, are just there. We're well protected, and they're protected. Solo did a great job, but he ate the pin, and he ate all 5 finishes. So, this one for me, lackluster, 3.5 stars, only because it's the Bloodline. They get 3 stars out the gate. The unnecessary spots, though, is something I would expect to see from AEW, not WWE. I get that everybody wants to see the tsunami and the move is over and all this other crap. But what I would have suggested is a top rope tsunami. You don't have to go all the way to the top of the cage. He certainly, that move was very dangerous, and obviously the guy is legitimately hurt. Anyway, and I won't spoil what's on there now for you, Allison,
No.
because you've got a delay. But
So-
what there are no spoilers for, Terry, and we're going to do this quickly so we can get it in before the top 10, is AEW. AEW has gone to their Continental Classic tournament, modeled after the G1 in Japan, because Tony Khan
AEW's doing a tournament?
Yeah, he can't come
I
up
know
with
you're
anything
shocked.
original.
I think
And
they
by the
had
way,
two.
sir, it's for a belt at the end of it too, because they can say belt over there. They don't say title.
One of the belts they already have, or is this a new-
Correct, the Continental belt.
Okay.
And
But-
so it's a G1. Winners get 3 points, 1 point for a draw. Semifinals from each block are going to face each other at World's End. The winner advances to the final, also at World's End. Okada automatically in because he's the title holder. He's had that title for a year. I really don't know how much that does or does not matter. But this is your gold card. They do a round robin. This is your gold league. Darby Allin, Claudio, Will Ospreay, Ricochet, Brody King, Juice Robinson. That's one. Blue League, Kyle Fletcher, Mark Briscoe, Shelton Benjamin, the Beast Mortos, Daniel Garcia, and the current champion,
Jeez.
Okada. So
It's
they've already had several of these matches. This is where I want you guys to weigh in on this because this really bothered me because I'm that guy. Ricochet wrestles Takeshita last week at the pay-per-view, Full Gear. And it took 76 finishers for Ricochet to lose the match. He loses to a basic clothesline from Claudio Wednesday on Dynamite. And it wasn't even a Russian sickle or the clothesline from hell. It was just a clothesline. And he got a clean 3. What are we doing here?
We've run out of finishing moves because we've kicked out of them so much.
But see, Claudio's got a pretty good finishing move called the neutralizer. He also has the swing, and he wins with a clothesline in like 11 minutes. They went like 11 minutes in this match, too, and that's how it ended. Darby got beat by Brody King. The guy supposed to be the savior of the company got beat by Brody King. And Juice Robinson was seen at WrestleCade on crutches this weekend. So he apparently got hurt in his match with Ospreay. But the selection of who they've got in the match and who they don't is very interesting to me.
I think it's probably Kyle Fletcher's to lose, unless he already lost.
Yeah, he has not. He beat. Let me look at the thing here real quick. Fletcher took on.
And yes, Amy, I agree. We
Mark
love
Briscoe.
King.
No, Shelton Benjamin beat Mark Briscoe. Kyle Fletcher beat the Beast Mortos, and Daniel Garcia and Okada went to a draw.
Ooh.
A freaking draw.
Wait, I just want to make sure I understand what you just said. Daniel Garcia and Okada.
Yeah, Daniel Garcia put him in the
Are we
Dragon
done yet?
Slayer
Because this is annoying to me.
sharpshooter, and
no.
Terry's gone. He left us.
Terry had enough.
Yeah, he had enough of
Terry's
AEW.
gone.
Apparently, he was frozen. So now we got a filibuster. But no,
Yeah,
Okada
we don't
did
even
not
have
tap
to fly.
out. Okada did not tap out.
Okay.
And he did not tap out. And so they go to a draw because it's 20 minutes, 1 point apiece.
Wow.
That's it. 1 point
All right,
apiece.
well,
And then Brody King
I mean-
kept Darby, of course, from getting beaten up further by John Moxley's crew.
do you see? Because I have seen the House of Black probably 2 or 3 times recently live, and I feel like they're getting like a huge push again. Like they're getting a good push. We're seeing them on a lot of big matches. I wonder if that's a way they're going. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't. The House of Black deal. Terry says the internet dropped.
I know. I'm
It
gonna
may
see if I
come
can
back.
I'm gonna pull up the files.
So we may go without Terry for. Oh, he's back. there he is.
Oh, we got him.
Save the day. Now get over where you belong.
I got him.
Switch it.
I got him. I got
Switch
him.
each other. There you go.
Oh, we both did it.
Damn it.
Oh, you do.
One of there you go. Okay.
We're competing. We did a
The whole deal with the House of Black is weird because it almost looked like Aleister Black or Malachi Black was leaving, and then now
Yeah,
they're
and then-
using them
no.
again. They need to
Yeah.
put the tag titles on them. If you're gonna, Private Party sucks. Sorry to all the AEW fans. No reason for them to even be involved.
Agree.
Camille
Now
got
we are.
Camille got beaten up and left off TV.
Yes.
That was weird. That was
Yes.
strange. Looks like they're
Yes.
writing her off TV. Last thing, because everybody expects it from us, and we missed it because we were having a good time talking about Thanksgiving and first world problems. But something pissed the producer off.
Oh yeah. Okay.
And I don't know how we forgot about it, so I apologize.
It'll take 2 seconds. Y'all know how when you go shopping now, like especially now, it's crazy, right? Like it's nuts. Holiday crowds are crazy. I have firmly believed this. If you show up to a store and you're in a shit mood, go home. Don't stay. Because you're going to make everybody else's day worse by being there. To give you a great example, I went to go, and I think it was just like a Walmart, buying a couple things. It was last week. You would have thought that I pissed in this lady's Cheerios by the attitude that she gave me. And I simply said to her, and I wasn't doing anything, like it wasn't, she was just in a pissy mood. And I'm like, you know what? It's a holiday season. I'm not going to act like I normally do. I'm going to be polite. I'm going to say, happy holidays. I hope you have a great Thanksgiving, blah, blah, blah. She basically turned around and told me to mind my own business. And I'm like, okay. So she checks out and I'm next. And the poor
Did she
lady.
say you're not that guy? You're not that guy.
The poor checkout cashier was like, because I'm like you, Andrew, I go to a cashier because that's not my job.
I do it myself. God help us.
I do it myself because I'm better at it.
I'm just
Anyway,
Correct.
go ahead.
Anyway, so I say to the woman, I said, you know what? I'm really sorry that you had to put up with that. And she looks at me deadpan and goes, if that's the worst thing that happens to me all day, I'll be fine. And I'm like, are you serious? She goes, ma'am, you wouldn't believe the entitlement of some of these people and how rude they can get. And I'm like, you know what? It's the holidays. Just try a little. You know how busy it's going to be in the store. You know how much people, are going to be stressed out. Don't be a dick. Plain and simple. Okay, I'm done.
Exactly. Don't be a dick, especially on the holidays, right?
Yes. Terry, do you got slides for us?
I
or-
do, but it's gonna go wacky first, so I'm gonna have to fix it.
I like it. Let's do it.
But what is our topic this week?
Not
First off, it's not
Survivor
that.
Series.
It was.
It is the most annoying
Ooh.
coworker habits.
All right.
And
got lots of
I'm
these.
going to go ahead and say email stupid. I'm probably guilty of 3 or 4 of these on the top 10. You all can bite me.
I'm pretty sure I've complained to you guys about probably every one of these. So let's go. Let's do this.
Number 10.
No name calling and no pointing
Okay.
fingers. Ladies and
And-
gentlemen, let's roll.
What is the point of being here?
Well, hold on, because I also want to note that Andrew is is at work physically all the time.
In an
Terry
office
is
job.
hybrid, half and half, right?
No,
and I
I'm
am
there
fully
100%
remote.
of the time.
100%.
I'm always there. Mhm.
Oh, you are? Okay.
No,
So
Terry can work from
Right.
home, but he's supposed to be at the office. Yeah.
Right,
Not really.
okay. Oh,
I won't go.
okay.
into
So we're ruining
okay.
We're ruining it for Terry right now, is what he's saying. But just to give people who are listening a little bit of an idea of where we come from. Now, I did used to work in an office, but since COVID, I've been remote. Okay, let's go.
Number 10, too much negativity. And there's some pretty good pictures. I did some good things with the AI.
That's
I
a good
think
one.
we're all three guilty of this one at some
Yeah.
point.
No question.
In fact, I told some people at work, I can't talk to you today. I promised myself I would be more positive, and when I talk to you, that goes away.
See, and for me, it's the opposite of this that drives me insane. Too much positivity. Go stick your head in the bubbler. I know. Mm-mm.
The
I've
bubbler.
put myself in adult timeout before because I can't stand you right now. I'm like, you need to go away. Because I think sometimes being realistic is being realistic, and other people, because of the tone of my voice, take that as me being negative or angry or whatever, and I'm like, okay, great.
Yep. Agree.
All right. Number 9, close
Oh, God.
talkers,
Ah. Oh.
especially if their breath stinks.
Ah. Well, not just if their breath stinks. What if you had a zesty lunch?
Oh yeah, I drink a lot of coffee.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't be getting too close. It's a warning.
Okay, so this isn't even the close talkers thing. Here we go, y'all. I
was waiting.
Nebraska Twitter is on fire right now. You can all find out why in the second hour of the show. That's a little teaser. We're gonna skip everything else, and we're only gonna talk about Nebraska. Terry, I forgot to tell you. Yes, miscongeniality, negativity sucks. Okay, go back to your fucking land of butterflies and rainbows and whatever else it is.
Hey, we need her to balance the rest of us out. Okay,
this is true. This is very true. Close talkers, don't get in my space bubble. Like, I don't even want you that close to me. Okay, don't get in my space bubble. Also, I cannot stand people with bad breath. Like, if you've got bad breath at all, I can't stand it. I keep gum in my pocket all the time because I do drink a lot of coffee and I like salads and they often have onions on them. But I'm not going to go breathe on you.
Let's put you in a car today.
Stay in your space bubble. Stay away from me. That's just how I feel about it. There's no reason to be that close to that woman right there.
No.
And he
Number
looks like
8,
a creep.
Except
not
Amy
reading email.
Oh my god.
Okay.
Right
okay,
here.
y'all know Terry, you and I could never work together.
Oh, I know that.
Oh, no, I can't stand people who don't read their email.
Oh yeah.
Like if they show me their phone and they have like a red bubble next to their mail icon,
you want to
heart
know the
attack.
number?
No.
762.
Mine is 14 since I got on the show.
That's
14.
Fine. Yes.
Yeah.
it's
Most of my emails get acknowledged and deleted. They don't get read,
fine,
but they get
read.
But if they need to be replied to, I reply to them, and that might be something else that we talk about in a moment. I cannot stand finding that I have 14, 1 text, 3 Facebook, couple notifications on Instagram. That bothers me. This needs to be clean.
Now that social media notifications, I wipe those out immediately. Here's my problem. Okay, here's my problem. Some of the emails I get, they're these big long conversations, and I've got 20 different emails. There is a much better place for that. We've got things in 2024 better than email to have these conversations. We've got Skype.
But
got
they go
Teams.
away. But those go away.
No, not Teams or
yes, ours do.
Oh no, y'all got it set up wrong. I mean, I've got groups, team chat groups, or what's the other one? A Discord.
Ours go away
or
after 30 days.
Oh, that's on purpose. Get that crap out of here. You want to save it, copy and paste into a
Oh my God, next. Before I'm going to have a heart attack.
Number 7, not muting on meetings.
It drives me crazy.
And I got to tell you, it was hard to make an AI picture with this. I didn't even know what to tell it. So this guy's got like paper flying everywhere, dogs and cats all over the place, messy desk.
They annoy me when they bark while we're on air, but people know better than to run your damn hit that mute button. Just hit it. I know of a group of wrestling fans. Oh, who are we kidding? It's ad-free shows. Ain't none of them know how to use a mute button properly because everybody wants to get their shit in. Well, if you hit the mute button and you're more polite to the other people that paid $100 a month for the benefit of being part of this group, maybe you'd all get along better. Maybe.
No, I definitely agree. I, whenever possible, take the option where to be the host of a meeting so I can mute everybody. That's a great option. Oh God, Amy's got a good one. People talking to their family while they're on a Zoom meeting.
Oh yeah.
Oh, we've definitely had that. A lot. A lot.
The fact I have to be on a Zoom meeting twice a week annoys me anyway. And then the fact it takes 20 minutes to get through something that should take 10. And then to hear the same nonsense this week that I heard last week and the week before and
Oh
the week
God.
before that, it's bad enough. But if you don't mute your microphone, I'm going to scream.
So
Like,
some weeks I have like 30 meetings. I'm pretty sure that would break Andrew.
Oh, yeah. No, I can't do it. I can't do it. I'm not a meeting person. So
That's how I started drinking black coffee. I had so many meetings. I didn't have time to put anything in my coffee between meetings.
That'll do it. That'll do it.
Number 6, blaming everybody else for your mistakes.
yeah.
This is a great picture, by the way.
Yeah.
I like to see that it's a woman because
I had to be careful on some of these. There were some nationalities and
Oh,
races
yeah.
and stuff. I'm like, hey, let's be careful here.
Let's not. No, this is I used to have a boss that did this. Everything good was his and everything bad was everybody else's fault.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't like this one. This is not a good one for me.
But it is everybody else's fault, Alice.
It's never my fault. I'm great. What are you talking about?
Exactly.
Definitely not Andrew's.
Number
Ah.
5.
I just heard the dogs. Hold on.
Uh-oh. Bober said he would
Okay.
kill himself before he has 30 meetings in one
I
week.
agree with Bober. I apologize. That was the younger dogs arguing over food. I knew I heard him growling. Anyway, no meetings for me. No blaming anybody else. You know, it's always somebody else's idea and somebody else's fault in a corporate setting.
Yep.
Number 5, arrogance.
Oh, please.
Hmm.
They've never been in the car business.
Is this
I
like
work-
everybody you work with here?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
promise.
I was
It's
gonna
just
Look,
say,
you notice this guy's wearing 2 watches.
oh
yeah.
my God.
except they're not
good.
on the same hand like Ric Flair. You should
Right.
try that.
He's a righty and a lefty.
Terry
my
and I
God.
work
I
in
love-
the same industry and it's male oriented, male dominated. Arrogance makes me laugh because I like to think that sometimes I'm arrogant because sometimes you have to be. So
Yeah,
this one was not on my list
not on my list either.
because
I don't think it's on mine either.
Because I don't mind strutting ass and letting you know.
if you deserve it, if you've got stuff to back it up, I have no issue with this.
Yeah.
In fact, and it's not on here. I don't know if I've said this on the show before, but I once sent an email that I included a table of contents at the top. And it tested the limits of the character limit of an email.
Wow.
And I said a lot of things. But that was arrogance that I thought that I could send that email
Sure.
and it would do something. So there's some arrogance there. So I got a little
Yeah.
bit of that.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm
Yeah.
guilty of half of these. I don't know. We'll see. Number 4, kissing ass.
Yeah. Another big one in my business.
So I've brought people coffee before,
Yeah.
but it's
But
because
I
they
mean-
were doing something really important, and I said, "You stay there.
Yes.
Let me go do something for you. It's more important for you to be here than me." It's not kissing ass as much as it is, you know, you're valuing their work, but you think it's just going to get done more efficiently,
Well,
that kind of thing.
so you said it from one way, from like you kissing the ass of people who work with you. For me, I have an amazing boss, and that
Mhm.
doesn't happen often. And like I will always say things like, "Hey, boss man," or I have the best boss, and I'll say this in meetings, and people are like, "Why are you kissing ass?" And I'm like, "I'm not." So what I'm doing is letting other people know I've got a great leader right here who supports me, who works with me, who says my name in rooms where I'm not. There's a difference between giving praise where it is, warranted and kissing his ass. Like if I was like, "Oh my God, there's nobody better than him. You are so great. Thanks for, you make my Day shine bright. That's kissing ass. I just tell people I will follow a good leader anywhere because that's how it works. So
Yeah, I've asked more than one person if they could tell what type of chapstick someone else was wearing. Are we gonna have to install brake lights on his ass because your head's getting awfully close? I've asked that question before.
goodness.
Yeah, so I am not. Oh, look at Frankie. He's live from ringside just to
He
say
is.
Allison is hot.
And he spelled his
I was gonna
girlfriend's
say
name
he
wrong.
misspelled her name.
Yeah, good
Good
job,
job,
Frankie.
Frank.
And speaking of kissing ass, he'll be doing some of that later to make up for the misspelling of her name, which is something I know annoys her. But yeah, the whole kissing ass thing, I deal with it all the time. I'm in a company of, God, I don't know, 850, 900. I'm upper middle, whatever, based on job title. It could really care less. I don't play politics. I don't kiss ass. I don't really give a shit. And that's why they keep me around. So, because I don't care.
If
But
there's one thing
it
I don't do
is
well, it's
funny to
politics.
watch.
Oh yeah.
Especially if you know it's from somebody who's going to screw with someone and just let it go on and on a little bit. I don't personally have the patience for it. So, like, I will cut it off. Like, no, we're not doing that. But anyway.
Number 3, lack of hygiene. Look
Whoa.
at
Oh, God.
Oh.
Yeah, that's a big one. Big one.
You combine this with being a close talker, I'm out.
I
Look at
used
that
to work
lady
with,
looking at him like, what the hell is wrong with this?
I used to work with somebody who was okay, here we go. He was a LARPer. You guys know what that is? Live action role play. Okay.
Yeah, I know who that.
He used to go spend his weekends in the woods. Okay, great, no problem. Except he used to show up on Monday after being in the woods all weekend.
Without going
Straight
home and
from
freshening
the
up?
woods.
Oh no, we ain't having that. No.
I used to share a closed door office with him.
Oh,
We definitely
be
ain't
an
having
open
all
door
that.
office that day.
Yeah, you all know. You all know. I just misasked a question. Y'all know that I am not gonna just sit there and let something like that happen. I will be the very first one to less than politely tell somebody that they need a bath. So wrestling fans, as a reminder, brush your teeth, wash your ass, put deodorant on. Those are important things. It is that time of year. Where y'all think it's okay to give the rest of us a bad reputation. Also, if you're in a workplace, brush your teeth, wash your ass, and wear deodorant. This is called being an adult. I don't know why this is difficult for people. And if you ever showed up looking like that or half like that in my office, I would not so politely ask you to leave.
I've worked with a guy one time. HR had to tell him he needed to wear shirts that were thicker because they were so thin you could see through them.
Yeah, not happening.
Yeah.
Not happening. But you also know that I am the person that'll take 5 showers in a day. You both know that.
This is very true. Yes.
I cannot stand to be dirty or unclean feeling. Sorry.
So
that one made number 3, but Allison's got something for us.
Really quick. You mentioned something about it being winter now, so people are going to start to be wearing layers, sweaters. Definitely wear that deodorant. And for men who are growing out their beards, thank you. That's all I wanted to say. Okay.
Number 2.
Number 2, taking credit for other people's work. This is another good picture. Look at her staring him down.
It's a very good picture.
Yeah.
Yep.
It happens all the time.
Except also, please note that it says "you ho" in the back.
look what on the sign. Yeah, that is.
I didn't even look at that.
So good. No, this happens all the time.
I can't believe you saw that.
I used to have a coworker and I about 20 years ago created something for the new Joint Strike Fighter, and he is a dick and he likes to take credit for others' work, and he would tell people that I was his assistant when we created this system together.
Oh,
yeah, that's probably not going to work.
So I mean, and correct me if I'm wrong, but my understanding, I didn't go to grad school. But if there's a paper written by like a graduate student and a professor, they always put
Mhm.
the graduate student listed first, correct?
Mhm.
Even
No.
though, you know, we know who's the real
Yeah.
deal there. It's
Yeah.
just a respect thing.
Yep.
Number one,
Here we go.
laziness and poor work ethic.
And so none of us know this because
Mhm.
we are all pretty much.
I'm surprised it's number one, to be honest. But
So I look at it like this. This was my number one. There is nothing worse than busting your ass, getting a 3% raise, and then finding out the person who did nothing got a 3% raise. Nothing worse
Mm.
in this economy.
fair.
So, that's the way
Yeah,
look at
I don't. This doesn't even cross my mind
it. Wow. I'm jealous. I
because
wish.
so much of what I do.
Yeah, it really
Okay.
depends. I mean, a lot of these depend on the industry you're in, because I mean, a lot of these aren't true necessarily. I think this would be a bigger thing if you're out digging ditches or doing some kind of manual thing. Like some guy just doesn't want to do something.
Yeah, my thing is I just don't. Again, I have so much control over my job. Genuinely, that's not a brag.
Yeah.
I mean, it is what it is. I don't ever even think about it because, to your point, nobody would ever accuse me of that.
No, never.
And
And
it's not even it's not even a conversation. That's not a brag by any of us. But nobody would ever accuse any of us of that. And that's why I'm saying it's not a
Well, I'm
Not-
kind of the same because my group of one became a group of two like 3 weeks ago, you know. So
Mhm.
it's like there's been nobody I could point to for this. It's all on me,
Yeah. Okay.
unless everybody else is pointing at me.
having to do twice the work to cover the laziness. I respect your game, Heather. You're number 1, 2. Yeah, having to do the work.
Let me run them down. Number 10, too much negativity. Number 9, close talkers. Number 8, not reading email. Apparently, it's not readying email. Not proofreading slides for the podcast. Number 7, not muting on meetings. Number 6, blaming everybody else for your mistakes. Number 5, arrogance. Number 4, kissing ass. Number 3, lack of hygiene. Number 2, taking credit for others' work. And number 1, laziness and poor work ethic.
Nice.
Yeah. Good list.
Very good list.
I like
Very
these
good
reverse
list.
lists.
Yeah.
We need
Yeah.
we need the one that we can bitch about once a month.
Yeah.
Okay.
I like that idea. Yeah.
Nope.
What's
'Cause it
on the
is
RAM
Christmas
network this
time.
week, sir?
The
That's right.
Ram Network, $5 a month on the Patreon, sponsored by Big Time Belts. You need a belt? They can provide it for you. Speaking of employee of the month, work habits, hey, somebody wore deodorant, buy them a belt. It's a little expensive to be pretentious, but you can do it anyway. In all seriousness, Big Time Belts, we certainly appreciate the fact that they do support the Ram Network, wrestling and more. Very high quality, low prices, as good as anything you'll find on the market. And we are affiliated with them thanks to Talking Wrestling with Palmwater Dave, who I forgot to ask, but I've got the info pulled up. They are interviewing a man about, let's see, here it is,
Man about a
Nathaniel
horse.
Grayson. Yeah, a man about a horse. Nathaniel Grayson, the NWA is bringing back territories, the newest affiliate, Dog
Oh.
Pound Championship Wrestling in San Antonio, Texas. Sounds riveting. Nathaniel Grayson is going to tell them about the things at the Dog Pound in his career and aspirations. Dave and Amy are also going to review Survivor Series. So maybe they didn't think it was the dumpster fire I thought it was. But very disappointed. I think that's Triple H's first miss of the year. As for the Ballers, they are attempting to handicap football. Good luck. This week was a lot of fun, a lot of chaos, and the pro level did not disappoint either. Always take Kansas City, especially since they have 6 extra players They just happen to wear black and white stripes.
Oh,
Some of you will get that joke in 10 minutes.
Well,
course-
I'll go ahead and say that I'm out of the Survivor League this week, and yet again, the Cowboys are involved in that.
Yeah, because they won. Gross.
Last time they lost and kicked
Oh.
me out. This time they won and kicked me out.
Kicked ass. Yeah. So there you go. They'd never bet on the Cowboys. They're horrible. And then of course we have the World Class Flashback. Got to be finishing up 1983 very soon. For Dave's favorite year in wrestling. They're going to move to 1984, and guess what? We're going to get more of the same. The Von Erichs will be on television there down in Texas, and they're probably wrestling someone like Kamala or Jimmy Jam Garvin, gorgeous Jimmy Garvin at the time, maybe King Kong Bundy, Devastation Incorporated, all this really cool stuff that nobody cared about because there was better stuff happening in professional wrestling at the time. Try the NWA, sirs. Speaking of which, the golden era is coming apparently soon, I guess. And I'm about to hose our buddy Dave in Florida State here on the next show. So that's your preview. But for the Ram Network, $5 a month gets you in all the watch alongs, all the content, probably more than you could shake a stick at. And we thank you all for supporting TNA Top 10, as always.
That's right. It's been a good show. We are a little bit beyond our hour.
it's okay.
If I count right, I don't know how much my big long monologue before hitting the go live button really impacted that time, but whatever.
Good times.
So let me wrap it up real quick. Thank you, Allison Faye. Thank you, Andrew, and a big happy birthday to Andrew Hermes here. Hermes. How do you say that? I just type things to you most of the time.
Hermes, you said it
Hermes.
right the second time.
Okay.
German.
For those
not
who
very-
were wondering, there you go.
There's
But
a whole
anyway,
store
I'm
named
Steve
after him.
Weave, Allison Faye, Andrew. Thanks everybody for voting. Thanks for tuning in, even after I dropped out and came back. If you're staying for the football show, we'll be back shortly.
And all the way live. Tell him, Terry.
All the way live until I drop out again because my internet is jacked up lately.
Oh, don't worry, I got plenty to filibuster without you.
As always, love your people. Tell them you love them. Make it weird. See you next time, everybody.
Bye.
Hello and welcome to TNA Top 10 College Football Week 14 show, December 2nd, 2024. I'm T Weave. With me as always is Andrew. How's it going, Andrew?
Terry, you did not change your background. That's fine. I'll give you a second to do
correct.
that. It is championship week, my friend, after rivalry week. I'm gonna go ahead and get this out up front. I am extremely disappointed in the conduct and behavior of a lot of college football players and a lot of college teams. I get it's rivalry week and you're supposed to be amped up, juiced up, whatever it is. But don't act like a bunch of dumbasses. Planting flags, throwing punches, extracurriculars, shoves out of bounds, all of that extra nonsense.
Yeah.
Absolutely unnecessary.
Yeah, I was a little disappointed. I mean, the Iron Bowl didn't get too bad. I mean, it was a little chippy like you kind of expect it to be sometimes. But, I look at particular players and I think I kind of didn't expect that from him. I wish he would have done better.
Yeah. And, I'll say it right at the top since, we're going to cover Nebraska here shortly. I just realized the case for my watch is gone. That's weird. But anyway, it's okay. It's all good. It might be on the ground. I've got another one in my drawer, so we're good. I don't keep car batteries around for my fobs right there, Terry, but I always have, the watch covers and stuff because, these things are expensive. But anyway, so Nebraska refused to shake hands with Iowa at the beginning of the football game. Right. Now, what people did not hear or see is a couple things. Higgins, their linebacker, who's such a great player, he had 4 tackles on Friday night, stated that Matt Rule interrupted their warm-ups. Matt Rule walked around the field as he does every game and walked around their warm-up. And they weren't really warming up. They were standing around with their thumbs up their asses. But that's, the story Iowa football wants to tell. Good for them. They didn't allow them to do the prayer with the team at the 50-yard line where they pray with the other team as well. They had the state police of Iowa blocking the symbol on the 50-yard line. And then so they come out to shake hands and they don't shake hands. This is my problem with that, other than I grew up on the Osborne era and he is probably the most classy individual that runs 70 points up on your ass and smile doing it, because he's just running his offense. You look the man in the face and you tell him we're going to kick your ass. And then you shake his hand and you go do it. And, the whole thing, well, we were in Nebraska's heads, blah, blah, blah. No, Iowa, we're going to get to it. You made 4 plays and won a football game. Congratulations. You have beat the worst Nebraska team since 1962 in a 10-year run. Congratulations. But again, as we're going to talk about, shit's about to hit the fan. So, very disappointed in this, quote, rivalry week because we think now that we're big, bad, paid players. Ohio State had over 100 people maced at that game, Ohio State, Michigan, over that stupid fight and the flag and all that crap. We got people here in North Carolina and playing Wolfpack versus UNC trying to plant a flag. The Sun Devil trying to put his Triton in the ground. Obviously, the Auburn, Alabama, there was a fist fight out on the sidelines. If you're playing playoff or bowl game football, the NCAA can still suspend all those players involved. They can go review all that and suspend you. You could be costing your team something. Now, in the case of Auburn, no offense, Terry, unless they go in on a 5-7, that doesn't cost them anything. Yeah. But what if Alabama was the 12th team in and you got 5 guys that threw punches and the NCAA says, well, they're not going to play in the bowl game. They're not going to play in that first playoff
That's huge.
Game. It's huge. And I use Alabama as an example, but what about the Ohio State guys? Throwing fights, throwing punches and all this at Michigan, the Arizona State deal with it's all of them with playoff implications. And this is my thing. And I don't know that people understand the way I watch football. I know you do because you've seen it. I am like Nick Saban as a football fan. Great play, clap, clap. Let's move on to the next play. You could see, and we're going to talk about it when you get to the Auburn game, the discipline of Alabama is gone. Gone. Yeah. All the showboating, all the shit talking, all of the antics, and it's all over college football, and it's a problem as far as I'm concerned. It is a problem. because at some point you become a distraction and an issue. You're no longer just making a play. And that's me off my soapbox for today, Terry.
But there were some good opinions stated by some coaches, similar to what you said a minute ago. We'll get to that when we get to those games, because there was one that I wanted to talk about in particular, but I won't give that away till we get there. But why don't we go ahead and dive in, and let's go to the SEC. And like you said, this game had nothing to do with the conference championship game, but we like this game. Auburn at Alabama for the Iron Bowl. Alabama wins by 2 touchdowns, 28-14, and it wasn't that close.
Well, and let's face it, Alabama 4 turnovers.
Yeah.
Auburn's defense, if Auburn hadn't forced those turnovers, this would be a runaway.
Well, and Auburn's problem is they've had so many opportunities and they got 0 red zone offense, including field goals. I mean, terrible field goal kicking and terrible red zone offense. The only touchdown they got was like a 40-yard bomb. So,
Yep. And you guys didn't run the ball well
no.
against Alabama's defense, whereas they ran the ball very well.
Right. Well, and also we threw an interception with our 1,000-yard running back. He threw the ball right after one of those fumbles, first play. Our running back throws it deep down the middle for an interception.
Yeah.
But hey,
like I say, the Iron Bowl, we love the Iron Bowl. Good job, I guess, Coach DeBoer. You won the Iron Bowl. You did it with probably the most undisciplined Alabama football team I've seen in 17 years.
He did it because he had Jalen Milroe at quarterback.
Jalen Milroe, Ryan Williams at wide receiver, couple of running backs.
Williams had some drops, though. I mean, that's the thing. It's like I think Milroe really just takes control at some points. Look at third down, 12 of 18.
12 of 18, yeah. When you get to third down 18 times, you're doing something. You're controlling the clock, as you can see. Clock's out of balance. But you can see the penalties, too, 6 for 66, 6 for 46. So, I mean, it got a little physical. And they started throwing punts. That's where I was saying I don't think this is a very well-disciplined Alabama football team.
Right.
I think,
well,
and
there
that
were
might...
some statements. I mean, there were some statements in the media during the week kind of led to this. They were kind of ticked off and that kind of thing.
Yeah, and it might be DeBoer's MO that he's going to let him play a little looser, not be so Nick Saban, and that's fine because every coach has to have their identity. But don't make costly mistakes. That's all I'm saying. But 4 turnovers for Alabama would not happen in the Nick Saban era. Wouldn't happen. Playing undisciplined football.
That's right. But like I said, this game had nothing to do with the SEC title game. But it was obviously an Auburn game, and we talk about those every week, and this is the biggest one of the season. But why don't we talk about the SEC going into this weekend?
Hold on. One other thing, as I love to tell you. Today is the anniversary of when I was at the last SEC championship game, traditional East versus West, with Allison Faye. Somebody refused to go with us, Terry.
I was there. I dropped you off.
Yeah. The other thing was you guys could have ended Alabama's season. They still have a chance, which we're going to get to. I only want to get all of our listeners fired up that Alabama with 3 losses might still make it to the playoff, and now you're about to tell them how. Or
and we'll talk about
some of
there's a lot of slides before that, and hopefully my internet doesn't drop out. But I will say, if it drops out, it's been dropping out for like 2 minutes and coming back lately. I got to figure it out, but that's what's been going on. But here we go. So we got Georgia is in going into the weekend. They've got
locked.
They've got their Georgia Tech game. Has nothing to do with the SEC. We'll talk about that in a minute. But then the game of the weekend in the SEC, the only one that truly mattered as far as the title game goes, is Texas at Texas A&M. Whoever won that plays Georgia in the SEC championship. So let's see what Georgia did this weekend. 8 freaking overtimes against Georgia Tech, and they were lucky to get away with a win here.
Yeah, 8 overtimes. Look, the one thing that you can see statistically is Georgia is still a good football team. 563 yards, 260, still had a turnover. Look at the possession by Georgia Tech, though, Terry. Look at the possession by Georgia Tech, the control. So Georgia, with about a third of the amount of possession time, not quite. That would be 33, call it 37%. somehow manages to fight their way back into this game because they were down. Weren't they down 2 scores? 3 scores.
They were
17 to
down by quite a
6,
bit.
27 to 6. Yeah, they were down 27 to 6 at one point.
3 scores at one point, yeah.
Yeah, 3 scores. I watched a lot of this game. Georgia, I'm okay with the overtimes. I know that there was talk in our group chat about it,
Yeah.
whatever. I'm okay with the overtimes. But little on the penalties, but they didn't have the ball. Georgia Tech, meanwhile, did what they do. They
Right.
they ran, they passed, very balanced attack. This is a very good team. Georgia Tech, if they can keep a lot of those players and playmakers and that sort of thing, paring it down, to the 105 players on the roster, do not overlook the importance of that for anybody listening to this show. Yeah, Georgia Tech, great fight. Here's my issue with this. This game does not belong at the end of the season. Does not belong at the end of the season.
Because you think it should be a conference game the last
Correct.
week?
Correct.
So that
I think-
impacts a few
Yeah,
of these.
Look at Clemson and South Carolina.
Right.
Clemson
backs into the title game.
Yeah. So with a little help from our friends in Syracuse, go Orange.
Right.
But yeah, Georgia Tech did a great job. Again, it's another close game. They probably should have won this football game, honestly. They outplayed Georgia. But Georgia made the plays when they needed to make the plays, and they got a couple beneficial calls from the officials. Let's not lie about it. I mean, there's no reason to. So, but you had 4 quarters and 8 overtimes to win the football game. You didn't win it. I don't know what else could be said.
All right. So that's what Georgia did. They had it clinched coming in. They're headed to Atlanta for the SEC championship game. But let's talk about who they're going to play. Texas at Texas A&M, and they escaped with a 17-7 victory. 17-0 at halftime, and A&M threw in a touchdown. So it's one of those, it was 10 points, but really didn't feel close at any point.
Yeah, to me, I felt like A&M was always right there. Like they were 1 or 2 plays away from winning this football game because it was that tight. But when you look at it statistically, I mean, Texas's defense held them to less than 250 yards, but both committed turnovers, and they mattered when they did commit those turnovers because both were driving on both turnovers. And then you look at what Texas did to A&M's rushing attack. You start making a team one-dimensional, having to throw the ball, and then you just go back into passing mode. I'm going to pin the ears back, and we're going to go. So, but anyway, I think Texas has and we're going to talk about it in the preview. I think Texas has a valid stance for the SEC championship game. I think that it's going to be a fun game in Atlanta, Georgia, Texas.
And really the 2 best teams all season. I mean, there's been teams up at the top. A&M was up there. Tennessee's floated around. Alabama's had chances. But these, overall, there's been some ups and downs, but these have been the 2 best teams in the SEC, and it proved out, and that's who we're going to see.
Agreed. And we're previewing them later, correct?
We are.
Okay, then we'll move on.
It'll be a rematch. I just thought I'd throw it in here as a finalization.
Yep.
But let's move on to the ACC. Kind of a similar thing here. SMU is in the title game going into the weekend. They got 1 game left that's not going to impact them. Miami controls their own destiny. If they win, they're in. If they lose, Clemson is in. And let's see what happens in that Miami game. Miami let Syracuse beat them 42-38, 380 passing yards from Kyle McCord. And Miami's going packing, and they got some things to answer, and Clemson slid in.
And Miami is hoping that somebody screws up along the way somewhere. They're going to need a lot of help to get into the playoff because that last 3 or 4 out is very compelling, Terry, and we'll get to it when we look at the top 10. But Miami should be a 3-loss football team. I've said that since they should have lost to VT. They should have lost to Cal. They're sloppy. They don't play disciplined football, but they have a rock star at quarterback, as you can see in Cam Ward,
Right.
But Syracuse was up to the challenge, and they did not back down. And the Orange pulled away with it, and they won. And I mean, Miami, the thing is about Miami, we've talked about them as the USC of 2004. It's like they play down. Well, this time it bit them. Stanford beat USC one time,
Yeah.
I think UCLA beat USC one time because they would play down to their competition, and they had no business in those games. Now, Syracuse isn't a bad football team, but I don't think they're a top 10 football team. And they just took down the U, who was all full of piss and vinegar and swagger. And it was a very well managed football game. Hardly any defense, which is going to be a problem for the ACC in the tournament, in the 12-team playoff. But it doesn't hurt my feelings that Miami lost because I really believe they got one over on Virginia Tech early in the season.
That's right. I mean, Miami, I think you could kind of see it happening. You go to the same plan where you let teams ahead of you and you storm back because you got a great quarterback. It's eventually going to catch up with you.
Yep.
And it's shown that it's caught up in the last few weeks. They're probably going to be outside looking in unless something crazy happens.
Yeah, and it's going to have to be crazy because Clemson loses to South Carolina and is already in the ACC tournament with the Miami loss in the ACC championship. Because again, they're done. So it doesn't matter. And Clemson's 2 or 3 losses are to Georgia and of course to South Carolina at this point. So
this weekend we got SMU and Clemson in the ACC championship. SMU, obviously the favorite here. Clemson win here. That throws another team in the mix for who's out and who's in. Because
correct.
I think some people would think SMU would stay. Some people would like them to be booted out. But I want to see chaos. So let's let all the underdogs win.
Well, and just as a reminder, Terry, SMU handled business this weekend too and looked very good. They
did.
So,
but I just mentioned chaos. Let's talk chaos. Big 12. Okay, so we've heard all week about all the different scenarios in the Big 12, but it really came down to this: Arizona State, BYU, Iowa State, and Colorado. If 3 of those 4 teams didn't lose, those other 5 teams really had no chance. They were out. So it came down to these 4 teams. That's what we focused on. Let's talk about those games. The first of those games was Colorado. 52-0 against Oklahoma State. And I have to be honest, I knew that Oklahoma State had underachieved this year. I did not know that they didn't even have a single conference win.
That's got to be the worst season that Mike Gundy's ever had.
I mean, and against Colorado, they get 147 total yards in this game.
We make fun of Colorado's defense on this show.
4 turnovers.
Well, where the hell was Ollie Gordon? Where the hell was the offense of Mike Gundy? What is Mike Gundy known for, Terry? Offense. I mean, it wasn't meant to be a smart ass question, but he is a guy that, if you remember, when his teams were tied with the Oklahoma and Texas that year, or Texas Tech, whatever it was the 3 teams. They were all tied for 1. He's there drawing plays on the sideline, trying to come up with a way for Justin Blackman to get the ball. Right. And the older Wheaton, I think his name was Brandon Wheaton, the quarterback that was like 27 years old or whatever. Old for that time period, not so much anymore thanks to COVID and the 6 years and all that stuff. But I never thought, even in Buffalo, even in Boulder, I never thought you would see a result like this. And Travis Hunter tried to put his stamp of approval on the Heisman, but I think it should go somewhere else. Particularly when you look at that person's numbers, Gentry's numbers, against the 3 last running backs to win the Heisman, which would include Reggie Bush, Mark Ingram, and Derrick Henry. So anyway, completely surprised that Oklahoma State had no fight. They had all those returners we talked about. You pick them. to
I
be
did.
the Big 12 champion, as
And they
I
got
picked
zero
Utah.
conference wins.
0 conference wins, and I mean, and
I didn't
we
know he was going to cut his mullet off, though.
Yeah, he's
Coach
done
Sampson cut
something.
off his hair. I mean,
It was ugly. It was ugly. And Colorado, after this game, had a chance to be in the Big 12 title. So what happened after that, Terry?
all right, that's the first game. Second game, Arizona State handled business against Arizona 49-7.
Country ass whooping.
This put them in the title game, I believe.
Yes, it does.
It was
They-
35-0 at halftime.
yeah, they won, and by winning, they're in.
And they took their little spear thing and tried to put it in the turf at midfield. And of course, it bounced back because that only works on grass. And then there was a tug of war with an Arizona player.
And the head coach has given his 20 coaches bonuses of $5,000 to $10,000 of his bonus money, and that's how you retain people. And look at the turnaround at Arizona State in year 2, Terry. This is an
That's right.
11 or 10-2 football team
And this
going
is one
into
of,
the Big 12 championship. We picked them to finish toward the bottom of the Big 12.
yeah, and somebody pointed out on Twitter the other day, this is one of 2 former Gus Malzahn Auburn offensive coordinators as head coaches that are in title games in other conferences this year.
Mm-hmm.
So Hugh Freeze needs to get it together, or there's plenty of guys around the country that
Yeah,
might
because
wanna show up.
you've got Rhett Lashley and you've got this guy. So
Yep. All right, so that's the second
But
game.
let's just say this though too, just real quick. Neither one of us thought Arizona was going to get stomped like this.
No, not at all. I mean, last year Arizona was that team that really got good toward the end of the season.
Yeah,
Apparently, that's not the way this season.
not the case. No.
All right, so we'll go through one more game, and then we're going to revisit the scenarios. This was a pretty good game. Kansas
was a
State
good-
at Iowa State. Iowa State, like I said, we were looking at those 4 teams. Iowa State handled business, won 29-21. Held on to the ball, didn't do anything too flashy, but got 2 turnovers from Kansas State and ended up winning this ball game by 8 points.
One of the least penalized teams in the country, one of the best turnover margins in the country. It may be a little boring. It may, like you said, Terry, not be so flashy,
Right.
especially against the K-State defense and their offensive power they have at Kansas State, but it won the ball game. Won the ball game.
All right. So now we've got 3 of the 4 games. Let's relook at the scenarios. And apparently I didn't put the logo for the Big 12 on this one, but whatever. So Arizona State's in based on their win. Iowa State and Colorado won. And it comes down to the BYU game. BYU is not in it.
They can't get in it either. That's the
Right. Because the other 2 teams won. Everybody else won, so BYU's out. But if BYU wins the game, Iowa State is in. If BYU loses the game, Colorado's in. And let's see what happened. Another pretty decent game. And BYU wins this one 30-18. Pretty good season for BYU. But, 7 turnovers. 3
Sloppy.
fumbles by BYU.
Yeah, sloppy. But Houston was not really up to the task in terms of talent-wise with them. And there was a talent gap, and it was very, very clear. But very good season for BYU. But because
Right.
they won and Iowa State won, we now have a Big 12 championship, Terry.
And that is Arizona State and Iowa State. So after all of those scenarios we talked about, we could possibly have an 8-way tie for the top. It wasn't that complicated. The 4 teams at the top all won, and that put Arizona State and Iowa State in this. And I'm looking forward to this. This should be a pretty good game. Iowa State's been good the whole season. Arizona State's been really dominating lately, the hot team. It'll be good to see them go head-to-head.
And just as a note, because when we talk about this, it'll matter to anybody who wants to listen to this very closely. Arizona State is currently ranked 16. Iowa State is currently ranked 18. The worst the winner of the title game can be is 12, which means they will be jumping 4 to 6 football teams, Terry.
Right. As far as seeding goes, yeah.
Correct.
Well, but then that's also another thing. So we talked about it a little bit last week. Is like the winner of this may not be above Boise State.
May not be, but I think if it's Arizona State, they will be, and I will talk about that when we go into the seat.
They're close enough.
Yeah,
we'll see that.
Yeah, and it's not just that; it's the way they're winning football games. But we'll get into that. Let's move on to, is it the Big Ten?
It is, and you know where we're going before we get into the games that matter.
Well, this game mattered to me.
At Iowa.
Yeah.
13-10 Iowa wins. You made a lot of statements about this earlier about the back and forth before the game and that sort of thing. So let me step back and let me know about this one.
This is garbage. Iowa made 4 plays. Nebraska dominated this football game. With the 3-3-5 defense, they stopped a rushing attack that had 200 yards 8 times this year and 100 yards rusher 8 times this year, 49 yards. A muffed punt resulted in Iowa getting the ball at the 5-yard line. They got 3 points out of it.
But wasn't that I was watching during this. So didn't the guy that was supposed to field it not even touch it? And then another guy thought he touched it, so he went after it and he touched it. And that was what happened?
And if you ask the Nebraska fans, Iowa touched it first.
Okay.
But it is what it is.
Right.
Muff punt, but Nebraska's defense bows up. Inside the 5, Terry, an Iowa rushing attack couldn't score a touchdown against Nebraska's defense. That's a statement and a half.
Well, 5 first downs, 0 for 10 on third down.
Also a statement and a half.
That's right.
Then Nebraska misses the field goal. Shocker. Bad snap. That coordinator's getting fired too. Ed Foley will not make it to next season, I don't believe. And we're going to talk about the shakeup in a second. But Tony White's defense, 40 minutes of ball control, strip sack. Well, first, the running back catches the ball. He gets 74 of those 115 yards on one play, because for one play, Nebraska forgot how to tackle. And for one play, the referees forgot what a block in the back and holding looks like. So they didn't call it. 7-10. Then it's 10-10. And then it's 13-10 on the last second of the game. For the 6th year in a row, the last play of the game determined the game.
Man.
4 plays Iowa made. This is physical domination in every facet of the game. But the strip sack at the end where Raiola gave the ball up, we're going to have a different mentality next year because Dana Holgorsen has just been signed to a 2-year deal as the offensive coordinator at Nebraska. We're going to have a new defensive coordinator and defensive line coach. And apparently there are 6 black shirts that have already entered the portal or plan to enter the portal. Nebraska has 150 players on the roster. When spring camp or summer camp starts next year, can only be 105. There's going to be a lot of talent available, Terry, to a lot of lesser football teams.
Right.
And I'm okay.
It out.
I'm okay with Nebraska having a younger team. Play disciplined. It's okay to be young. You don't have to have all the experience, but play disciplined and play loose. This game should have been a win. Should have been 7-5. Shoulda, woulda, coulda. Can't exercise the Iowa Demon. They have beat Nebraska 9 out of 10 times. But as I reminded somebody who tried to be a mouth breather to me about, Iowa wins. I'm an Iowa fan. Listen, bitch. Iowa might have won, but you've picked the last decade of the worst Nebraska football since before Devaney got there in 62. This 10 years has been the worst 10 years of Nebraska football since 1962. Still have all the conference championships, the bowl games, the national titles, the NFL players, the scholarships, and the sellouts. So go fuck yourself, because Iowa ain't got none of that, except the NFL players. So anyway, that's where we're at. Tony White's gone to Florida State. Terrence Knighton, the defensive line coach, to Florida State. And there's a lot of players.
To Florida State.
There's a lot of people assuming that all these Nebraska players are going to go to Florida State. 105 people is all you're allowed to have on the roster.
Yeah.
That's it. So you better make sure. But I think, honestly, having Dana Holgerson, that's my man right there, joining the crowd means that you're going to secure all the offensive players, including Dylan Raiola, including Dante Dowdell, including the receiver that I think so much of, the freshman Barney, Ja'Cory Barney. So you're going to lock that down. Nebraska's 2 big recruits for defense have already stated that they wish Tony White the best. They're going to Nebraska. And then you saw a couple of people that looked like they're going to lose playing time enter the transfer portal because those 2 guys said they're coming to Nebraska. So it's going to be a fun. I mean, don't watch Nebraska Twitter. Terry, I wouldn't recommend watching Auburn Twitter real close for the next
I
week.
left it a long time ago. I mean, at one point I was really heavy in Auburn Twitter, and I got tired of it, and started a new one.
But on this topic, just to finish my thought, Tony White's defense 3-3-5 has been a top 20 defense the last 2 years. I don't necessarily think that the 3-3-5 is the reason we stopped Iowa. He put 7 guys in the box and let them play man-to-man on the backside. Terry, that's not 3-3-5 defense. You and I both know that's not 3-3-5 defense. So if you're going to load the tackle box with 7 guys like this is old school Chicago Bears football, and then you're going to play the backside one-to-one, man-to-man, one-on-one, okay, great. So we'll see who the new DC is. Nebraska's got a big checkbook. They can hire anybody. And as I said in our group chat, they've got the money. They've just chosen not to use it. But they've also got a volleyball team that's going to play for the national championship or go very deep in the tournament. The basketball team is turned around, and all of this revolves around the football team that, while performing poorly for the last 10 years, is the source of all the revenue that is allowed for the facility updates and the reason for people to come play those sports here. So,
all right.
On to next year and the bowl game, and I'm hoping it's the Duke's Mail Bowl because I'm going to Charlotte, if it is. Bank of America Stadium.
Well, let's look at the Big Ten and what we had coming into the weekend.
This will be quick because it was all but, yeah.
Well, we had Oregon that clinched their spot. So they had a game with Washington that they won, but that didn't really matter. They could have lost to Washington and still been there. But it came down to 3 teams on the other side. Ohio State, if Ohio State wins, they're in. If Ohio State loses and Penn State wins, Penn State's in. If Ohio State loses, Penn State loses, and Indiana wins, Indiana's in. If they all 3 lose, it goes back to Ohio State. So let's start with Ohio State, and shockingly, Michigan wins this ball game, and this is crushing for Ohio State, not just for this season and not going to the Big Ten championship game. I mean, sure, they're going to the playoff, but they can't beat Michigan no matter what, apparently.
And that highly touted offense did not deliver Saturday against a very bad Michigan team in comparison to what we've seen the last several years. This is not a good Michigan football team. This is also proof why rivalry week is fun until you go to plant a flag and then you end up with mace from the Columbus State Police or the Ohio State Police. And you got 100 damn people with mace all over their faces because you can't control yourself and you got to act like a bunch of goons. I'll be honest with you. I'm very shocked. I do know, Terry, we both picked Ohio State. The spread was 21 going into this game. I didn't think it would be that far apart, but I certainly did not expect Michigan to win.
I thought it would be 2 touchdowns. I don't remember what I said last week, but I did not expect this at all.
No, and Michigan, good for them. They got up. They came to the game. It was the game. Right. And they did what only one other team has done, and that was beat Ohio State this year. But to your point, this loss aside, and we're going to get there when we start talking about the playoffs, Ohio State's in. Whether people want to hear it or not, Ohio State's in. 3 top 5 wins, or 3 top 5 games this year. 2 of the 3 they won, and they lost the 3rd one by a point to the number 1 team in the country.
Right.
And this is a rivalry game where we've all just said, throw it out the window. It doesn't really matter.
That's right.
So
let's move on to the next game. Since Ohio State lost, that hands it over to Penn State. If they can win, they will meet Oregon in the Big Ten championship. And not only did they win, they dominated Maryland 44-7. And at the end of the game, threw a touchdown pass and kind of pissed off Maryland's coach there a little bit.
Yeah, Mike Locksley was upset about it. James Franklin was asked about it in his press conference, and he said, "Well, it's my job to get the second and third string in there and to play everybody that we can play." He said, "What am I supposed to do? Tell them not to play football,
Right.
or tell them not to play?" His point was Maryland still had the starting defense in, and he had his third and fourth string. It was cleanup crew in,
Right.
and he's playing offense. I told the same story to my buddy Will earlier today. Tom Osborne wins number 250 against Oklahoma in 1995. If I'm not mistaken, Nebraska won that game 69-0. He was asked by the reporter why he ran the score up. And Tom Osborne's answer was very simple. He said, "Well, I've had my starters out since midway through the second quarter." He said, "I've had the second team out since before the third quarter ended." He said, "And we just happened to bring enough players to play a third and a fourth team, and they've earned the right to play football.
Right.
So I'm going to call the plays, and they're going to run the plays." But in 1995, Terry, backups included people like Scott Frost, Amon Green, Joel Makovica. So guys that were pretty good football players anyway. And Nebraska's offensive line and defense wasn't going to slow down against Oklahoma on Osborne's 250th win. The point was, he just simply stated with a little smile in the corner of his mouth, "Hey, I'm here to run my offense. What I'm going to do." Franklin basically said the same thing. What, I'm supposed to tell these guys not to play just because?
And he said, "I get it. I get it." That's what he started this whole thing with. I get it. I see what he's saying, but I just put my guys in there, and I'm not going to kneel the ball the rest of the game.
And was it him too? Was it Franklin too that mentioned that style points do matter at this point in the season? I think
I
it was.
didn't see that, but
one of the coaches said, because somebody asked him about drumming the team, he's like, "Well, style points matter too, because I'm supposed to beat these guys, but because it goes, strength of schedule, I need to beat them by more than we're supposed to be." And it was some explanation. I thought it was Franklin that said that. And Mike Bober, I love you. I really hope Big Game James shows up for the champion. We'll see. We'll see if he does, but he certainly showed up against Maryland. And Locksley finishes 4-8. So this one, Terry, Indianapolis, Indiana.
Mm-hmm.
At the big stadium there in Lucas Oil. Yeah. And Oregon, first year in the Big Ten, and they are the home field advantage, technically, because
they are the only undefeated team in the country.
As a newbie to the Big Ten, which everybody says is such a different brand of football.
And I believe I would have to look at it. I know at least 3 of the 4. I don't remember them off the top of my head. They could all be won by newbies.
Yep. Yes, sir.
All right. That was the conferences. Here's the other games that mattered. SMU, as we mentioned, they dominated 38-6 over Cal. South Carolina beats Clemson. Even though Clemson backs into the conference championship game, South Carolina ends it big. And this is a big win for South Carolina when we start talking about who gets in the playoffs.
Not to mention their defense was very good. I watched a lot of that game. Go ahead, Terry.
And then this next game is pretty interesting because Tulane was one of those teams that was looked at as being one of those teams that could sneak in above a Big 12 champion. But Tulane loses 34-24 against Memphis. And Memphis has 10 wins, I believe, 10-2.
Including over Florida State. So
Memphis is pretty impressive, a team we don't talk about much. And here's that Oregon game, 49-21.
Was not close. If you saw any of it, Terry, was not close.
Then Notre Dame beats USC on the road, 49-35.
Did you see him throwing punches?
I did. I saw that. And here's the thing. It's like, who's going to punish them? It's got to be the NCAA. They're not in a conference.
Through that. Purdue.
That's one benefit they have. They don't have a conference commissioner to do anything to them.
Purdue's head coach is speculated to be Nebraska's new DC. They're people wanting that. Nobody likes him, though. He was a Colorado football player who says he hates Nebraska. They took a 66-0 loss. Thank God. You know why? Indiana beat Nebraska 56-7 earlier this year. Purdue now has the worst loss, and we appreciate that. Thank you so much,
Well,
Mr.
Indiana
Today.
didn't get a chance to go to the conference championship game, but they put it out there 66-0 because they're
And-
also fighting to
Yep.
stay in that 12.
And look at Boise, 34-18 over the Beavers.
That's right.
And Tennessee, Vandy couldn't get it done, Terry. But damn, when was the last time you saw Tennessee Vandy be that close? 13 points.
Well, here's the thing, though. Quarterback's gone. Unless he wins his appeal or whatever, he's suing. Is it a lawsuit? Is that what it was? Or is he appealing or something? He's trying to get another year either way.
And maybe appealing the ruling, yeah.
So, anyway, Tennessee wins 36-23 against Vanderbilt.
I was really hoping they would win because then that means they would have beat both Alabama teams and Tennessee.
Yeah.
Just for fun. I mean, what the hell? I want chaos. But who's in the top 10 this week,
And
Terry?
Oklahoma
Do you know?
beat both Alabama teams, too.
Do we know who's in the top 10?
We do know who's in the top 10 because I put this together. Number 10, Boise State, 11-1, undefeated in their conference. Their only loss is a 3-point loss at Oregon. That's just from the only loss perspective. That's pretty impressive. Now, they don't have any great wins here. Oregon State may be their best win of the season. They got Washington State, actually, 45-24. They beat both of the Pac-12 teams.
And Utah State. And San Diego. You know what I mean, though? They just keep rolling.
And UNLV is pretty good.
They will get UNLV in the championship game, so we'll talk about that. But Boise probably deservingly so in the 10. This is what, people hated about the Boise teams during the BCS era. They would win, and they would win a, quote, non-schedule, didn't matter, blah, blah, blah. But then you put them against Oklahoma in 2007, and what happened, Terry? They beat them with a Statue of Liberty play.
Yeah, we don't like talking about that guy over. Anyway.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Number 9, Tennessee, 10-2, 6-2 in the conference. Their losses are at Arkansas, which pretty painful there, and lost by a couple of touchdowns at Georgia.
But got a little help from Florida, let's be honest, because they had a better season than expected. Got a little help with the win over Vandy. Got a little help with the Alabama win. Beat Oklahoma after Oklahoma goes ahead and beats, like you said, both Auburn and Alabama. Mm-hmm. So Tennessee's resume doesn't look as bad as we may have projected it could be at the beginning of the season. Because we said what games are on here.
Right.
Because we fully expected Florida to be a 3-9 football team.
Right. I was thinking 4-8, but they flipped that around. I mean, what 7-5? Is that what they
7-5, I think, or 8-4. They did a very nice job coming out of it. And I'm sorry, Billy. I thought you'd be fired, and it's not even your fault why I thought you'd be fired. But anyway, number 8, Terry. Who do we have on the list?
Number 8 is SMU at 11-1, undefeated in their conference, and they also have one loss by 3 points to BYU. Which, like we said, a decent BYU team.
Yep. But they took down Florida State, which at this point doesn't matter. Sorry, Dave. But Louisville, Duke is a good football team. Pittsburgh has been in a free fall. We know Boston College is good, but look what they've done to Virginia and California the last 2 weeks.
They beat California pretty bad. California, even though their record doesn't show it, they played some good games against.
Very good. Yeah, very good. I mean, they're the ones that took Miami to the limit, Needed a little help from their friends in stripes. Number 7, Terry.
Number 7, Indiana, hanging in there. Didn't get into the conference championship game. After their loss at Ohio State last week, they came back strong, 66-0. So they were playing to get into the 12.
And I think they have. And we're going to talk about it in a minute. But now, nothing left to say. Great job by Kurt Cignetti. He may be the coach of the year. I don't know that you could take it away from him, honestly.
Number 6, Georgia. Georgia's had some ups and downs. Close games. They had the loss at Alabama. They lost at Ole Miss. They still got that home winning streak going. Almost lost it this weekend. Pretty big win against Tennessee. I mean, that was impressive.
And Texas.
At Texas, they put it on them. So, I mean,
Georgia is not Georgia
to start the year.
Yeah, they're not Georgia of Georgia a couple years ago, but they've got a resume. I think that this team is volatile in that you don't necessarily know what version of Georgia you're going to get. I
Right.
also think if Kirby Smart's got a couple weeks to prepare, it's going to be very difficult for anybody to turn back Georgia just because they get a little bit of rest, but they also get game planning, something he learned from the GOAT. The top 5 answers, Terry, of this
Number
week's top 10.
5, Ohio State.
Yep.
They got the loss and they only dipped to 5 here. Their 2 losses are a 1-point loss on the road to undefeated number 1 Oregon, and then this 3-point loss in their rivalry game to Michigan. But along the way, they beat Indiana pretty bad last week, beat Penn State by 7 points, beat Nebraska by 4, whipped Iowa, whipped Michigan State. You know, they're solid.
They're in.
Number 4, Notre Dame. They've got the bad loss week 2 that came out of nowhere, but they didn't have a really tough schedule this year. I guess the toughest game was their first one at Texas A&M, and they won that by 10. But they've rolled. They won at USC this week, 14 points.
And a very chippy physical rivalry game, if you want to call it that. Notre Dame's defense is legit. They gave up 35. That's the most points they've given up all year long. If you run that down that list, Terry, previous to that, 24 to Louisville, which let's face it, Jeff Fromm's offense is very good. But look at the scores: 13, 14, 7, 3, 7, 13, 14, 3, 14, 14.
And that's
Marcus
13 to Georgia Tech, who just put up 563 yards, I believe it was, this weekend against Georgia.
Yeah, Marcus Freeman, Al Golden have a good defense and a solid offense over there at Notre Dame. Whether we like them or not, they're in. But we'll continue that discussion in a minute.
Number 3, Penn State. So they slide right up. Ohio State dropped. Penn State slides up. 11-1. Their only loss to Ohio State by a touchdown. Pretty impressive. They got the win. I don't know what game I'm thinking of, but we'll see what Penn State does. If they can win the big game, can they win the conference championship game? But, they're number 3. They're going to be in no matter what, I believe. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, I think they're in. Even a blowout by Oregon, I don't think hurts Penn State. We'll get there in a second.
Number 2, Texas. Texas slides right up to number 2 with the big win at Texas A&M. Their only loss. They get a chance to avenge that loss.
And they've played, A&M was a good football team. Michigan was a good football team, but not as good as we thought. Oklahoma played decent. They lost to Georgia. Vandy and Florida being better football teams than expected to be help, particularly that Florida. Look at that lopsided Florida win. And we talked about it, so they've got some good stuff on their schedule as well. Bottom line is Texas wins, they're in. If they lose, they're in. So anyway, number 1 with the bullet.
Number 1, no surprise, 12-0, 9-0 in conference, Oregon Ducks, newcomers to the Big Ten, and they are the only undefeated team in the country, and they head to the conference championship game against Penn State.
Quack, 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 Terry. Dan Lanning has this defense rolling. The offense is fast. We'll preview it here in a second. Run it down for us.
Number 10, Boise State. Number 9, Tennessee. Number 8, SMU. Number 7, Indiana. Number 6, Georgia. Number 5, Ohio State. Number 4, Notre Dame. Number 3, Penn State. Number 2, Texas. And as it's been for a while, the Oregon Ducks sit at the top. So what's next? Let's talk playoff seeding.
Playoffs?
We are pretty close on this. Very few differences here. We both have Oregon, Texas, SMU, the top 3. I still got Boise at 4. You've got Arizona State sliding in there. I've got Arizona State down at 11, and you've got Boise at 11. But we roll with the same teams, 5 through 10. That's Penn State, Notre Dame, Ohio State, Georgia, Tennessee, Indiana. And then here's a big difference at the bottom. 12th seed. I put Alabama. You put South Carolina. I was going back and forth on this. There's
That
reason.
was the hardest pick for me. Alabama's beat South Carolina by a point, but South Carolina has rolled. When you look at the
Right.
back half of their schedule, the big win over Clemson, they dominated A&M, if you remember correctly, Terry.
Mhm.
South Carolina did, and then they've got one other big win who I can't remember off the top of my head, but really well done by the Gamecocks to get to 9-3. I like their play right now, a lot more consistent, very good defense, as opposed to what Alabama has done. Now, all of this can change, but I think 10 of these teams are set. Regardless of championship outcomes, I think 10 of these teams are set. One option, when we get there, UNLV could bump Boise. Because I don't think you get more than one non-Power 5 team.
Right.
Alabama or South Carolina could steal. Iowa State could steal. But I think we truly are down to Oregon's in, Texas is in. I would say SMU would be in, even
So
losing
if
to
Clemson
Clemson.
wins, okay, that was going to be my
Yep.
question. That's what I've
Yep.
seen a lot of people talk about. That's
And
a
I
tough
think
one because
they
I'm
may
not
be the
really
bottom 10, 11, or 12, but I think
right.
SMU would be in.
I think they
Notre
would
Dame,
definitely drop toward the bottom.
Notre Dame in, Ohio State in, Georgia, 3 lost Georgia to Texas in a close SEC title game. Georgia's in. Tennessee's in. Indiana's in. I mean, I think you basically have 9 or 10 of the contestants for the 12-team playoff on the screen. And I don't think there's going to move. Indiana can't move. Tennessee can't move. Ohio State can't move. Notre Dame can't move. They can move seeding, but
Right.
there's nothing that's going to affect their record, and there's nothing that changes the outcome. At least that's how I see it.
Right. And then we got Miami fans thinking that they're the team that deserves to be in there. Ole Miss fans, and they've got, they've got positive things they can point to, but these are the two teams that I think that I was deciding between Alabama and South Carolina. I picked Alabama at the moment.
Piss everybody off when
gonna
Alabama
be
gets in
chaos.
and rolls. Yeah.
We think we know who's going to win these. We're going to get like something completely different when it comes down to it this weekend.
Yep. Let's roll through the championship games, Terry.
All right, so I'm showing them all. We're not picking them all because we don't know what the hell is going to happen with Western Kentucky and Jacksonville State. Let me just throw that out there. So Friday, we have the American Conference. That's Tulane and Army. You want to pick that one?
Yeah, I like Army by 7.
Army by 7. So Tulane is favored by 4. I think they're going to bounce back and win by a field goal.
So you think they're going to come back from the win or the loss?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm taking Army by a touchdown. Western Kentucky got creamed by Alabama. That's what I know about them. Give me the whoever they're playing by the spread.
So I believe TJ Finley is at Western Kentucky. That might be his 9th or 10th team, and I think he's headed to Georgia. I don't know. It's a really weird situation, but yeah, we'll see what happens there. I don't even know what to pick. I'll go Western Kentucky here by a field goal also. UNLV at Boise State. That's also Friday. Boise State's favored by 3.5. This should be a pretty good ball game. What are you thinking here?
Close game the last time, but this is at Boise. They got the home field advantage. It's not a neutral site. This is the blue carpet. Give me Boise, and I'll take them by 7 as well.
This is tough. I want to pick UNLV, but I just don't see it happening. Give me Boise by 10. So now we're going to really get into some of the games. On Saturday, we got Iowa State, Arizona State. Arizona State's favored by 2.5 in the Big 12 championship game. Give me Iowa State for the upset by 4 points.
I'm taking Arizona. They're a hot team. I don't think 2.5 is enough. I understand Iowa State's a really disciplined football team, but Arizona has just got momentum right now. Arizona State, excuse me.
Right.
and I like the way they're flying around, the way they're playing offense in a balanced attack, passing and running. I'm gonna take the Sun Devils, and I'm gonna take them by 10 over the Cyclones.
Well, let's go to the MAC game. And the funny thing that I see here just caught my eye. Ohio State is not in a championship game, but Ohio is.
Yep.
Miami of Florida is not in a championship game, but Miami of Ohio is. And that's what the MAC championship is. Ohio versus Miami of Ohio. Miami favored by 2.5. I got no clue.
Nebraska legend, assistant coach, and head coach Frank Solich was the coach of the Ohio Bobcats after he left Nebraska unjustifiably fired. Give me the Bobcats by a field goal.
I'll go the other direction by a field goal, just because I don't have a damn clue what I'm talking about.
Ben Roethlisberger came from Miami of Ohio
That
back in
part I did.
2004.
That's about the only thing I know about him.
No.
Sorry, Miami fans. There's probably more Miami of Ohio fans than Miami Hurricane fans. Let me throw that out there. But anyway,
They deserve it.
Georgia and Texas in the SEC championship. Texas favored at the moment by 2.5. Give me Georgia by a touchdown.
Well, they are playing in their home away from home, Mercedes-Benz Stadium, Terry's favorite. By the way, the Iowa State-Arizona State game is in Jerry's World down there in Dallas. Or not Dallas, technically Arlington. But
Right.
Georgia, they're home away from home. They lost the last one to Alabama last year. And I think Texas is on a vengeance tour. Evan the reporter. I hope he's correct. Per Jacksonville State beat, Rich Rod has been offered a massive 10-year contract. Rodriguez bringing a massive staff with him, including Jimbo Fisher as OC. I don't know that Jimbo Fisher is humble enough to accept an offensive coordinator position from anybody not named Nick Saban. Rich Rod didn't have as much success as Jimbo, so maybe Evan the reporter is correct. I hope so. Neil Brown fired from West Virginia, Terry, after 6 seasons, 500. Mac Brown fired from North Carolina. And the Purdue coach, Ryan What's-His-Face, who hates Nebraska, fired from Purdue. By the way, Texas Tech, after they won their big game this weekend, they fired their defensive coordinator, and he only let the other team score like 15 points. His defense did. But they fired him anyway. So anywho, moving on to Georgia and Texas, I think Texas flips the script. I think Texas has got great defense. Tony Gibson joined Rodriguez as his DC. I have no idea. I'm going to Longhorns by a touchdown. And it's not because they're favored. I think that Stark is due. I also think that you're not going to see trash being thrown in the Georgia Dome or the Mercedes-Benz Stadium.
All right, let's move on to the next one, the Sun Belt. Marshall and Louisiana, Raging Cajuns. They are favored by 4.5. Another one I'm not going to know much about, but give me Marshall by a touchdown.
I'm going to take the Raging Cajuns because I always liked Louisiana State University. So let's go with the Raging Cajuns there, Terry. I said Louisiana State University. It's
You did.
What is their name?
Louisiana now.
It's Louisiana. Yeah, the Louisiana Raging
Cajuns anymore. Yeah.
Yeah, Louisiana Raging Cajuns. I'm going with Louisiana.
All right, let's move on to the ACC. We got Clemson and SMU. SMU's favored by 2.5. Give me SMU by 10.
We're going to agree on this one. I'm taking SMU by 13. SMU's got a very steady offense, passing game and running game. They're very fundamentally sound on defense. I think Clemson's got some vulnerabilities. SMU will be the home team in Charlotte. To your point, Texas, new arrival. Arizona, new arrival. Mustangs, new arrival. Oregon, new arrival.
Right.
4 for 4 in the Power 5. Give me the Mustangs 13 points.
All right, one more to pick. It is Penn State, Oregon. we don't have Michigan and we don't have Ohio State in the Big Ten championship game this year. Oregon favored by 3.5 to go to 13-0 on the season, heading in to get their 1 seed in the college football playoff. And I think they're going to do it. I just don't think Penn State's going to win big games enough to do that. So I see Oregon by a touchdown.
I think that Penn State's got a great football team. They're going to be in the playoff. I just would personally, as a fan, love to see Oregon finish the run. No, but everybody said, these Pac-12 teams can't compete in the Big Ten. Dan Lanning brought an SEC mentality to Oregon, and he's brought it into the Big Ten. They run the ball. They run it well. They're as always, Terry, Oregon is a fast, elusive football team. They're well disciplined. They tackle well. I'm taking the Ducks. 3.5 ain't enough. They're going to beat Penn State by 17 points Saturday.
Man, it's a big win against Penn State.
Well, somebody has to be controversial on this show. You are just running the ball, remember?
Hey, I picked the underdog like 3 times here. What are you talking about? Speaking of me running the ball, it worked out for me because bring it to me here. 85-54 on the season for the college pick'em, and it is over. I have won this championship. No reason to list anybody else. But what we will mention is, just like last year, even though this is over and I won it, we're going to open up a bowl pick'em whenever we get a chance to do that, and we ask you to join that just like we did last year. It's all in fun. We ain't paying for anything to give anybody if they win it. Sorry there, Bryant Haremza. You were the champ last year. I'm gunning for you this year.
Yeah, y'all gonna lose to me in the bowl pick'ems because that's my show.
I'm interested to see how they do it with the 12-team playoff now.
Between the 12-team playoff and the transfer portal, it's just a shit show, which is why I love it so much. There's no consistency in it.
Oh, man, we're going to have to figure out how we talk about that next week.
Transfer portal opens December the 9th. Our next show, December the 9th.
Oh, wow. It's going to be last minute throwing stuff in the notes.
Nebraska's already got 6 defenders in the transfer portal, Terry. They think they're going to follow Tony White to Florida State. And, I mean, I don't know. But like I said, head coaching positions open at Purdue, North Carolina, Tar Heels, and West Virginia right now.
All right.
And not Auburn.
See what names get thrown up there.
They didn't fire your coach yet.
Well, they got a head coaching position available at Central Florida now also because
oh, yeah, I forgot. Central Florida, yeah.
Gus supposedly is headed to Tallahassee.
Supposedly, Gus was on his way out. They were going to fire him anyway.
Oh, he's gotten worse
So he quit and took it away from him.
Hey, you get a chance to be the OC at Florida State versus getting fired, you take that chance.
Well, the problem is our buddy Dave won't think it'll happen for another couple years unless it's a really awful season. Norvell's seat has to be just a little bit warm there at Florida State.
Right.
Contract be damned.
Oh, this is replace everybody or get out of here. I mean,
13-1 to 2-10. So
they got
Nebraska went from 5-7 to 6-6. But we got Dana Holgorsen. And
Auburn fired a head coach 2 years after a national championship.
Well, he was an idiot though. Without Gus, he wasn't anybody. With an offensive mind like Dana Holgorsen, I really think Nebraska is going to do some good things. The benefit is, and you know this as a guy who's got an offensive-minded coach, Holgorsen came in with 3 games left, which is really weird. Was promoted to offensive coordinator from analyst or whatever. He's already stated he's going to let the wide receivers coach go. There was 5 drop balls in the Iowa game that 3 of them would have been touchdowns. So you're going to see a very complex offense, I think, from Holgorsen, and I'm very excited for it. We can get good defensive coaches because the Phil Snow's the one that keeps coming up because he was rules DC at Baylor and Carolina and all that. They've also got the former DC from Penn State in there, who was under Bill O'Brien. But that part doesn't matter so much as long as schematically, if Dylan Raiola cannot execute the offense and they can't score points, it doesn't matter. Here's one thing I want your thought on before we get out of here. I call it a loser's mentality. Matt Rule every week talks to these Nebraska players who are now 2-10 under his guidance of one-score football games they've won. 2-10. Well, it's going to come to the fourth quarter. It's going to be a close game. It's going to be this. It's going to be. If you've got the all-star superpower that they have and compared to some of these other teams, they shouldn't come down to the fourth quarter. How do you change that mentality when it's being instilled by your head coach?
I don't know, because I'm seeing it in Auburn too. I mean, it's one of those things where, it's nice to hear, oh, you're playing really close games with everybody, but you keep losing. What's it matter if you keep losing?
Nebraska was the best 3-9 team that country or the world has ever seen, Terry. 3-9, lost a total of 9 games by 47 points.
And what you end up doing is
you went 3-9 and you sat your ass at home.
Well, you hold on to the football and quit turning it over. You do better on third down, and you do better against the other team when you're on defense on third down. And you don't put yourself in those situations in the first place, because you don't put it in the hands of a ref in the fourth quarter or anything like that.
No, and I think that's the problem that Nebraska needs to get to is, back in the Osborne days, and I know it's been a while, but even during the Pelini days or the Solich days, when Nebraska got a lead, they'd build on the lead, and they didn't play protect the lead. I think too often they get in this mentality, well, we got a 10-point lead over Iowa and our defense is just stomping them. But then you make these 4 mistakes on special teams that cost you the football game.
So you either got special teams or even really good defenses are going to give up a big play once in a while. And that ends up beating you if you don't have the mentality to keep putting it on them.
Yep. And in the league, like when you're playing in the Big Ten, you're playing in the SEC at Auburn, 10 points ain't jack shit.
Well, I said it at the beginning of the season. I said there's, before this season, it was Alabama and Georgia at the top, and there was a big gob of teams.
Yep.
That big gob of teams goes all the way to the top of the SEC now. And Georgia and Texas just ended up at the top of it. But you see teams losing to teams that are supposed to be lesser than them. It's a fine line between 8th in the conference and 3rd in the conference.
Well, look at the turnaround of South Carolina this year.
Right.
9-3 with good wins.
Yep.
So, anyway.
All right. Well, it's going to be exciting. We got conference championship weekend coming up. Army-Navy game still a couple of weeks away.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that one next week, I'm sure. It's going to be exciting. And it's going to be talk about the conference championships and talk about the transfer portal, talk about next season, talk about coaches moving around. I might even get to do another map.
Buddy, there's going to be so much movement with, and again, I want everybody to understand where I'm coming from, and it's not trying to beleaguer the point. When you killed the walk-on program, because that's essentially what the NCAA did. Mm-hmm. They have murdered the walk-on program. They took it out back, put a bullet behind its ear. It's done. I'm from a team, root for a team that built national championship football on a walk-on program.
Right.
Because they sat 3 years and they played 2. Redshirt freshman, learned the other 2 years, you played as a junior and a senior at the University of Nebraska. Unless you were touchdown Tommy. But the point being, they have murdered the walk-on program, and you have 105 players. The landscape of college football, Terry, is about to get awfully, awfully competitive, as if it's not already.
Yeah, it's different every season. It's narrowing down to this more and more. We've got the transfer portal. We've got the limits on the roster being introduced, and we're going to spread out the talent, and they're going to bounce around a lot. I don't
Hell,
know.
I forget who it is, but they got one guy who announced 2 transfers in the same week. He was moving. He was going to
That
one
Underwood
team.
guy, Bryce
Yeah.
Underwood.
He was going to one team and then decided he was going to Kansas or something,
Yeah,
all in 1
State,
week.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm like, what the hell, dude? But anyway, let's
All right,
wrap it up,
thanks,
Terry. It's been a
everybody.
good time.
We've gone over. We're probably going to go over through the bowl season. Sorry about that. We thank everybody that hung in there with us, everybody that votes. And well, here's a question: was that our last poll of the season? I guess it would be.
Well,
We
I
didn't even
mean,
think about that.
well, because after Championship Saturday, they will have
Doesn't really matter.
they'll have the playoff out. So what we think won't matter. Yeah.
Right. So I guess we did the last poll of the season. Thanks everybody that participated. Thanks everybody that has given us feedback and watched both shows that have been with us throughout the season. We got the excitement
Settle
coming.
down.
We got the excitement coming up with the conference championships and the bowl games and all the transfers and the coach movement. So the show's about to start changing, but it's going to be really exciting. It's probably going to go an hour and a half for a while. We thank you for hanging in there. Be a champ this week in everything that you do, everybody. See you next time.